Touchdown now. What doesn't he do?
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
A delayed snap, and this is Battle. Looks right, throws right in the flat. Pass caught. Touchdown. Midway.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
Throws it down the field. It's caught at the 10, and this game is over. The Cowboys win it. C.D. Lamb.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Gonna hand it off. Got the first down. And Moore still going. Smith still on his feet. Got a little help from his friends. Touchdown Bears.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Backside heat, fumble. Got knocked loose. It's on the ground. Loose ball. A big hit by T.J. Franklin. And the Bears have the football. And McClain is lit.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Friday afternoon. We're live at Panther Stadium on the campus of Midway High School in that Hewitt and Woodway area. It's actually in Hewitt, Texas, just on the southern part of Waco. High school football tonight. It's hard to imagine. We are in week number 8 of 11. 9 of 11 when it comes to Texas high school football that started back at the end of August. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, as you can see us on the webcam today inside the press box, and also Hayden Bumpus in the mothership as well. Dana Dimel, UTEP head football coach today at 3:30. We'll also hear from sports attorney Dan Lust at 4:05 on many things. And then, of course, Angelique Shingelis. She covers the Michigan Wolverines. She's covering Michigan this week against, Indiana? Detroit News. Sam Bradshaw at 5 o'clock today. And Grayson will join us, Sikkim 365 Radio and .com at 3:45. Big 12 this weekend. Iowa State, Oklahoma State. You have Kansas State, Texas Tech. Oklahoma State, again, that game is at Ames. Oklahoma plays at Kansas, West Virginia at TCU. We're going to pick those games. We're going to start trying to do that a little bit more. Craig, you've been wanting us to do that a little bit more, and we'll do that on Friday. The chat room is open. The text line is open at 254-339-1122. All right, last night, SMU dominates Tulane. They were supposed to. Tanner Mordecai, 400 yards, a bunch of just everywhere. So they took care of their business at 21. Coastal Carolina the night before, of course, they were knocked out of the unbeatens. Which among the top 25 teams, other than Oklahoma State, is maybe in danger this weekend?
That's tough because this is not a great
It is an ugly
weekend. It's
yeah.
not. This is not one of the ones where you want to just park it and sit all day. If you've got stuff to do and want to miss a weekend of games, this might be the one you picked. I would think the closest one, Wake Forest plays Army, and that's always a tough one, although Army's a little bit down this year.
LSU and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss, I think, is in danger of losing to LSU. I know not a lot of people are high on LSU right now, but I think there's just enough of a I don't give a what because of the coaching situation and enough of a rivalry that, yeah, Ole Miss should win that game. But, would it shock anybody if, LSU went in there after winning last weekend and, just a whole win one for the Gipper type of thing?
Yeah.
I'm not banking on it. I'm just saying it's entirely possible. So, yeah, I think if you're LSU, you've got a chance to kind of ruin Ole Miss's party a bit. And, that Oklahoma State-Iowa State game's one that I'm very big on. And, outside of that, there's not a whole lot of other opportunities, as Paul was mentioning.
There's not one game where two teams ranked in the top 25 this weekend are playing each other. Not one. And remember, there's been 3 and 4 games before, but not one, and including, again, two teams that have already played, Coastal Carolina getting knocked out, SMU taking care of their business as well.
UCLA and Oregon, I guess Oregon's at risk there, but I'm still not a believer in UCLA.
Well, they're kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Or about the time you feel good about them, they tease you, and then they don't sustain it. Michigan's home against Northwestern struggling, Penn State at home against Illinois, they struggled, and you wonder about where they are mentally with Bielema and what he said, even though he's tried to retract or say that's not what he meant about the current roster. So who knows? Wisconsin at Purdue 25th after their win against what was previously unbeaten number 2 Iowa. Now, Gary Bohannon added to the Manning Award watch list. That's good news for the Baylor quarterback as well. Here's a note about Big 12. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be, I'm not pretty sure, I've been reporting from almost day one that there's going to be a Chapter 2. There still appears to be a couple of those teams that are supposed to be a part of Chapter 2 that just may not be ready to pull the trigger by sometime at the end of November, mid-November, late November. How about this? Boise State was in Chapter 2 from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
SMU was one of those we wondered about, right? Mm-hmm. We heard from Rick Hart on Wednesday. They're in. I mean, he all but said it. The Pac-12 is kind of delaying their television contract information because they want to try to see what they can get from the Pac-12 network, which is spread out all over the place and not much of value. But right now, it appears as if that USF and Memphis both have transitions in their administration. We've discussed that. USF has an interim president, and the bylaws limit some of the decisions he can make. And we know what the story is. We've mentioned that at Memphis as well. What would they do if they only could do 2? Should they do none in Chapter 2, or do they do Boise and SMU? And then maybe you still have Texas and Oklahoma for a couple of years. What do you do?
I would just add when people are ready to go. I mean, just keep doing it.
Whatever the number is.
Just
figure out the schedule. We've learned you can do that.
Especially if say it's USF and Memphis that aren't completely ready to go. If you can tell them, like, okay, if you can, let's technically start the clock now for you guys in 2025 and then do it then. I understand they want to make this go as easily as possible, but I would, if I were them, I would go in a different, direction as far as, and not different schools, but like just get it done. Like don't leave SMU and whoever else at Boise, if they're ready out there to twist in the wind for longer, just go ahead and make the announcement. These 2 are coming. There's probably 2 others. And plus that also gives you the opportunity of maybe saying, okay, we've got 2 more spots.
And something changes elsewhere.
And somebody could come to you and be like, listen, here's our deal. And you go, okay, well, USF couldn't decide, so we're going to go with this school. But, I mean, I still think USF and Memphis are probably the ones they'd go with because, those are the ones that are probably best for them.
Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate for that to ruin SMU and Boise's party. The fact that they appear to be ready to go for an invite and, the other 2 may not be. So I don't think you can penalize them necessarily. I think if it was just SMU by itself, I don't know how attractive that would be. But the fact, or even Boise by itself, I don't know how attractive that would be. But as a combination, I mean, yeah, that's cool. I mean, SMU's a top 25 team. They're unbeaten. Boise's not having as good of a year with Andy Avalos, but they're a program that year in and year out is usually in the thick of things as far as they're similar teams and also flirting with knocking and giving a hard time to the schools that are P5 or what have you. So yeah, I mean I like both of those teams. I think the biggest team as far as going like, do we really care? Do we really want them? As far as the reaction that I've seen is USF. So I don't think that there's a lot of hand wringing necessarily by a lot of Big 12 fans if you don't get everybody in right away. And the thing you got to probably be careful of is if you're USF or Memphis, if that is the case, and how long are we talking here? Are we talking about like you need a couple years? Are we talking about you need like 4 years? Are we talking, what are we talking about? I don't think the Big 12 is necessarily on a, by this date and we're never expanding again. But I also don't think you want to make this a regular deal where every single year you're talking about realignment in this team or that team.
No, so that's why they want to get this.
So that's what I'm saying is like, what are we talking? Are we talking you need a couple years? Because I think you could probably make that work. Are we talking you need more than that? Because sorry, I mean, you're going to be left out in the cold. That's the way I see it, at least.
The summer of 2023 seems to be the common denominator on when Texas, Oklahoma, even if they haven't given their 27-month schedule, and that's when Brigham Young's coming in, and that's when Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, Central Florida, UCF also want to be a part of the party, and that's what everyone's working towards. And then You even see that date 23 and 24 with the other conferences that have made also their plans known.
I mean, I guess it's good that the Big 12 has options. At the same time, though, I don't want them to get stuck into a constant pattern of realignment, discussion. I mean, at some point they need to close the doors, lock them, and get to work on the interior. And so I think they'll do that with this first wave of teams. And then hopefully that second wave, if it's 2 or if it's 4, whatever, goes smoothly as well. And I think you got to, just get down to business. But as we know, because of these TV deals that'll be coming up in the next 2 and 3 years, I mean, there's no telling, what the geography is going to look like amongst the conferences in terms of, the deals and what that may mean for a lot of teams. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I put this up on the board. There's a thread on SicEm365.com, and I see this ooh or meh. And so where was Baylor 2.5 months ago? Where were the remaining 8 2.5 months ago?
I think that's still the minority. But yeah, if you're in the minority and you're saying ooh,
you
and
can't
meh,
even you can have an opinion, but I'm telling you that's a dangerous way to think. Baylor's been spit on before.
Well, let's
and then you want to talk about attendance and empty seats and only that's just stop being blind to where you have been yourself.
Let's also stop blanket statementing entire fan bases too, because I know who you're referring to in some ways. And let's face it, every fan base has a pocket of people that the best thing that they do is complain about everything.
Yeah.
And they're never happy. And it's always their team's this or their team's that. And, ooh, your girl, whatever. But, yeah, it's funny. And the fact that somebody could, 2 months ago be wringing their hands over, oh, my God, is Baylor even going to be in a Big 12? Are they going to be in a conference? And then 2 months later turn around and be like, USF. Yeah, those people don't even realize how much of a hypocrite they are. So, don't let those people be the ones that you paint broadly over the fan base, because it's the same small amount of people for every group, when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, my point is this. At one point, there have been 2 or 3 times when Baylor was looked at as, don't give them – they don't just –
yeah.
And you know what they did? They rose out of the ashes on multiple occasions. And look where they are facility-wise, donor-wise, where they are. They're a part of this. And people want to still go back to 96 when the Big 12 was formed and how it got political. They got off their ass and did something about it. And it hasn't always been easy. And they could have been left behind again. But and same thing with Iowa State. It's not just – and it's just interesting to me that anyone would sit there and think that you're above and beyond anybody else that's out there trying to hook themselves into a conference. That's my whole point.
I mean, I love covering Baylor, but let's be honest. It's a small private school in Texas. There's a lot of snooty-ass people. I mean, there can be. And that's for, again, every fan base. I'm not zeroing in on them. But, yeah, there's snobs in every fan base. It's like, oh, USF or, SMU, please. It's like – that you were nearly their conference mates in a level below about 3 months ago. But like I said, some people are just they don't even realize what hypocrites they are, and they just go about their business. So yeah, don't let the bad seeds or the ones with their noses in the air speak for everybody.
Mike S. on the chat room. By the way, next weekend you're talking about nobody really happening this weekend. There might be an upset or 3. I don't know, but next week it's Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Michigan State. We're going to hear from a writer who covers Michigan. Let's see. San Diego State could be a little bit dicey facing Air Force. From Paula, do you think? Let me see here. It always goes down a notch or 2. All right, here. Do you think that the Big 12 might want to wait to see if they can poach teams from the Pac-12, such as Arizona schools or even Colorado? They're not going to wait for that. The Pac-12 is waiting for their television contract. Those teams have always interested me. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Colorado State, or whatever. But I don't think it's hard right now to be in the waiting business. I think you start announcing. I think you get ahead of the curve. The Big 12 is always criticized for being sometimes they had junk in the oil that did not want to do anything unless they wanted to be a part of it, and whether it's Texas or Oklahoma or both. But I think now is the time when people are open-minded more than ever before. So if you could add 2 more or 4 more, I think you do it. And you don't do it. They're not going to do that just to say we have 14 or 16. There's going to be a rhyme and a reason. Live content. There's a rhyme and a reason. I promise you they wouldn't do that just to do it.
Yeah. No, and yeah, you said the word content in there. Keep that in mind. Content.
Somebody actually said to me, I know it's just one. They said, well, you don't want to just have live content to have live content. Oh, no, yes, you do.
Yeah, you
absolutely do.
I'll tell this story again. A website reached out to me about writing about the Cowboys when we were unemployed, and they asked, I said, well, how much do you want? And they were like, well, we need 7 articles a week, or 5 to 7 articles a week. And I was like, what? And me and a couple of the writers, and I was like, well, that's a lot. I get it during the week, during the Cowboy season, there's always something, there's injuries, there's think pieces that you can do. But it's, on January 1st every year, they're pretty much done. And like, well, we've got a website, we got to fill it with content. So even the off season, you're writing 5 pieces a week about
top 5 undrafted free agents all time in Cowboys history. That kind of junk.
That kind of stuff. So that's what the web is content. If you're not refreshing it, you're falling behind, because the competitors and the other sites are putting new stuff up every single day.
And that's where I have a problem with it, and not a problem, but this is where I have a difficulty, is I am a perfectionist when it comes to the stuff that I do. It takes me a long time because I'm just very, I just have a hard time writing, and it's never good enough, and I redo it, and I end up writing stuff like 4 times, and it takes me like 6 hours to write what takes like an hour. Like, I'm just really have always my whole life been bad about that. I can't imagine just throwing stuff up, and that's kind of what some do. And I remember having a conversation one time. I was like, hey, I don't think it's very good. It doesn't matter, just get it up. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think doesn't matter, just get it up. And I'm like,
but it says by Craig Smoak.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing.
Exactly.
So
there's that too.
By Paul Catalina. Yeah. So if it says my name on it, I better do my best, because
the lesson I learned was it wasn't even so much about what I was writing. It was just the fact there were words
something
on a screen. It was just words on a screen. I could have written like poo-poo head and then like, hey, it's good. An article. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't even matter what I wrote.
So if content means doing stuff on every single team and having that available, it's stuff that people are going to click on. And that's what it is.
Or watch, or listen to.
And you're right. And sometimes it's kind of like you're kind of being pushed one way or the other. Content, which Sikkim365.com is, it blows me away. Sometimes I can go there, and the next day there's 8 or 10 new articles up, and a lot of it depends on games that have been played, games about to be played as well.
And it's not like slideshows, and it's actual like time taken to write an article and put some thought into it. And so that's nice to be able to do. But I definitely know that that's part of the deal nowadays, and that's why you see so many just like, I mean, Bleacher Report popularized it, right? Of just kind of throwing stuff up, and just, hey, they realized very early on how simple-minded people are. It's like, ooh, picture slide, and just over and over again.
Some of those actually I enjoy, but not constantly.
I do too. But it became to the point where it was like ridiculous. Like, every article was just a picture show slide just to get 20 clicks. Didn't mean anything or have any substance. It was just like, get those clicks. And that's kind of the way that it is. So for these conferences, I mean, they want you to be invested in the product, obviously, because they want you to spend money on tickets and go to games and do all that. But mostly they just want to feed the beast and have people just consuming content constantly. And that's basically the whole business world we live in nowadays.
We have Dana Dimel, the head coach at UTEP. He was at Kansas State, did a great job there and elsewhere. He'll join us here at the bottom of the hour. This is from the 423. Love the show, guys. Thank you, 423.
Thank you.
Seems to be a lot of rumblings at Southern Miss, Marshall, Old Dominion, James Madison from the FCS are headed to the Sun Belt. That would leave only 5 schools in the Conference USA. I don't see how a conference with just UTEP, La Tech, MTSU, Middle Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, and Florida International can survive, especially if, let's say, the MAC decides to grab one of those teams or two, Middle Tennessee State and Western Kentucky. We'll ask Dana Dimel about that, the landscape changing. But you did a lot of research on that yesterday.
Yeah, well, I drew like a chart to try and figure out what all was going on. It was hard to just like in your head go, okay, Sun Belt, CUSA, AAC, Big 12. Like, it's just.
What's that chart with all the
like a flow chart?
What is like iron? What do you call that?
Oh, the periodic table.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just hard to figure out where everybody was, and I've just seen like various things scattered today. I don't have like a full, complete like this is what's happening, because there's still a lot of like, well, maybe Liberty, and so like the last thing I'd seen was. The Sun Belt expected to add Southern Miss, Marshall, James Madison, and Old Dominion as early as next week. And Ross Dellinger had added that Liberty had been in talks with Conference USA, but that he did not expect them to join a league that, like you said, only had 5 members. So I don't know what the deal is going to be with Conference USA and, how this all shakes out. But it doesn't look like it's completely all the way over. So, we'll see. Still trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like.
Also from JT and Pikes Peak, thank you, Paul. I, for one, don't look down at SMU. In my opinion, second best Christian university in the state of Texas along the I-35 corridor. I would, however, prefer the Big 12 look further geographically Boise, they're in the picture without question. San Diego State, Coastal Carolina, even the Air Force Academy to have even more of a national appeal. That's from JT at Pikes Peak. And you never know. Someone might slip back into the picture if one or two from Chapter 2 of the Big 12 expansion drag their feet or just aren't quite ready to be ready.
I will say, though, I wasn't initially as high on SMU either, and maybe it wasn't looking far enough ahead. And I've changed my thoughts on that. And, at the same time, if it had been a Big 12 expansion and all they had done was at SMU and Houston, I'd be pissed. I would not have been cool with that. That would have been boring as all heck to me. But the fact that they did add a lot more outside of that, okay, I'm cool with that. I just wasn't the Southwest Conference died. Don't try to recreate something that already died and failed. You know what I mean? That, and that's what people were pushing. I'm like, no, not this all Texas league. That'd be fun for people at Dave Campbell's, and some of their readers. But outside of that, I don't think many people would have been interested after the first year. So you needed to add some more geography. And I think even if they were to stop put right now, you do look at it and the swath of the country that they cover compared to even when they were, this version that they are right now, it's pretty nice. They could always go further, with a Boise or a San Diego State, but they got a pretty good chunk, and they've actually got some people relatively close to West Virginia now. So I think it's been good.
Yeah, Craig, you mentioned the Southwest Conference. I heard that rant I went on that one day about people have got to let that go because the Southwest Conference, you put the schools in Texas back 10 years. Not only that it failed, their tunnel vision and myopic nature, they forgot that Ohio State, Nebraska, Florida State
play football too.
They do, and they were trying to win the national championship, and no one in the Southwest Conference really seemed to care about that because they were trying to beat each other.
That's kind of like when you have you are in a golf tournament, and you have somebody in your same group that starts a stroke behind you, and you focus in on him or her. And someone 2 or 3 groups back is shooting 9 under par that day and passes both of you by.
I saw a guy on TV the other day was doing an interview about he wrote a book called Rationality about how things are getting better in the world. We just don't realize it because we're mad all the time. And he said the worst thing about the good old days is people have bad memories. So if you said the good old days, you got a bad memory.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm in my 30s and I have no experience whatsoever with the Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So any memories of that are 30 to 40 years ago. And it's that's not I get the nostalgia and all that, but I wasn't looking forward to seeing the potential recreation of something that, died for a reason. And so I'm glad that there's a flavor of the Southwest Conference now with this new setup. But there, and especially if SMU comes rolling in as well, but there is also more of a national feel still to it. So I think, you got a cool little balance there.
We're going to take a break in a minute, but let's run some of the chat because it might be in and out the rest of the show when we can. From Vernon, and it's a good question. It's a question we've seen before, but the answer is simple. Would Nebraska or Missouri think about or being considered? Nebraska would give up 50-something plus million a year. Missouri maybe even more. And remember, not everybody can just leave. And I don't know why either one of them, despite how they play right now, would ever want to leave where they are unless they could walk away free and be promised more than they can be promised.
Divorce yourself from the thoughts that other Power 5 schools are coming to the Big 12. We've said it from the beginning. Yeah.
Cincinnati grad here. This is Jim Tudor living in Georgia. Son went to Baylor Army program in San Antonio. Really looking forward to the divided family shirts. From Chris.
I want to say one thing, though. The best opportunity for something like that to have happened as far as P5s or A5s jumping to other A5s would have been if that whole super alliance didn't happen. The most fun that was to talk about was when there wasn't this alliance, what is that even? I don't even know what that is still. But that was just a big press release basically. But yeah, I mean, those teams aligned. But if they hadn't done that, and there was the thought that, hey, maybe the Big Ten tries to go grab USC and Oregon, and everybody just reacts nuclear to the Texas OU move, but everybody kind of calmed down and didn't go the nuclear option, instead just formed an alliance. But had that have happened, if the Pac-12 had lost a couple schools, then maybe you would have seen the opportunity for the Big 12 to go and grab, some other, there's some Arizonas or whatever.
From Jim Tudor, a super chat, $5 as a Cincy grad. Our move to the Big 12 helped me find your channel. Awesome job. Look forward to future broadcast. Cincinnati, welcome to the future of the Big 12. When we come back, UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso, Dana Dimel, the head coach, they are bowl eligible for the first time in quite some time, and he's next on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Right around the corner from here is Discover Woodway. We're in Hewitt and Woodway. They're basically attached at the hip just on the southern part of Waco, and they continue to have through the month of October, which is running out, another week, a little bit more than a week left, sand volleyball and flag football camps and also competition available for the youth, for young kids. Also, on top of that, they continue to have featured events. The sports clinics at the park is what I'm talking about with sand volleyball and also with flag football. Cops and Kids Halloween Drive a week from tomorrow. 5 o'clock until 7 o'clock. That information's on the site, discoverwoodway.com. Veterans Breakfast, November 12th from 9 until 11 a.m. That information's on the site as well. And concerts that we've talked about, remember Oktoberfest a week ago. It's an Arboretum featuring Jake Hoot and Sundance Head concert on November the 17th. That's coming up. That's from 7 p.m. to 9:30. Information on tickets and all of that available at discoverwoodway.com. And also this, because of the growth and expansion of Waco, Magnolia, the Silos, the Balcones, Baylor's games at McLean Stadium, and there's still more home games to come with Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma, and then the Farrell Center with basketball games, or you're just coming into town to maybe see the Dinosaur Museum and all that exhibit, whatever it might be, Cameron Park. You can do that with 7 hotels in Woodway waiting for you to call them to get yourself a room for however long it might be at discoverwoodway.com.
The beautiful, rugged, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L is in stock at Allen Samuels. This prestigious Jeep heritage is obvious in the Grand Cherokee L. First responders, we're offering an extra $500 cash for you. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now. Jeep Adventure Days at Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICKM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICKM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf, they've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
One of the great stories, not just in the state of Texas, but in college football, is the UTEP, University of Texas El Paso. The football program became bowl eligible. And that's the first time since 2014. Dana Dimel, head coach, joins us. He's been a part of Kansas State, Wyoming, head coach there, and Houston as well. And he's with us on 365 Sports with Paul Craig and David Smoak. Coach, thanks for your time. We appreciate it so much. Obviously, when you took the job, there are goals. Where did bowl eligible come into the picture, at least with you, what you thought was reality?
That was our ultimate, end goal. The first thing we wanted to accomplish, guys, was to get, the program to that status. And so, we knew it was going to take some time, but as you always do when you first come in, you think, oh gosh, we're going to win right away, and you do your best to do that. But, it became apparent that, we had some work to do to get the program turned around.
You took a loss earlier this year to Boise State. That was a tough one. But then after that, you guys have been, of course, you were locked in before that. What is it about certain teams that when you do take a tough loss that can rally, and about your particular team that seems to have really come together after that loss to Boise State earlier this year?
Yeah, I felt like this could be a really good year for us. I felt like we had the pieces in place. We really had hit and been real fortunate on our junior college recruiting and hit on a lot of really talented players. And so, we came out and played a great game against New Mexico State. And then obviously we went to Boise and didn't play well at all. And the team really rallied around that. We had an open week, to get ourselves back into sync. And the guys just really started bonding with each other and started really believing that they know the kind of talent that we have on this team. And from that point on, I felt like we've got better each and every week as the season's gone along.
Coach, what was the most important thing for you in just helping this program believe again? I mean, how do you go about doing that as a coach, establishing that belief, getting in on the ground floor and building the program back up? Because they have experienced, obviously, some tough times. So where did that start in your mind, and where did you plant those seeds?
I just felt like this was a perfect fit for me, just because my experience has only been with turning programs around. And so I knew it was going to take patience, and I knew that if we just got the same kind of kids that we got at Wyoming and Kansas State, first of all, the first run at K-State, when we, turned around the worst program in the country and got the same kind of kids that we got at Wyoming and at Houston too. I mean, I felt like we did one of our best jobs at Houston in getting that program back on track, because it was really only 2 winning seasons in 12 previous seasons before I got there. So I just felt like get kids that really care about their schoolwork and really care about their families and their teammates, and we've been able to do that. It's just kind of changed our whole fabric of our football team.
What is it like to know and have all that time you spent under the legend of what Bill Snyder not only rebuilt he didn't rebuild Kansas State. He brought them back from the dead. And he did it basically twice, and you are a part of that as well. What was that like to coach under Bill Snyder?
It was I was so blessed and so fortunate to be able to learn and to be a part of that system. And as you guys know, I played at Kansas State, and we were so bad. You know what I mean? We were so bad. And but we had good players, like everybody. You had some good players, but we just didn't know how to believe. And so Coach came in and really got us to the point where we expected to win, and I was able to just watch and learn, and I knew nothing then. I'm just learning, and then to be a part of the second turnaround too. We came back and the program had kind of dropped a little bit, and to get it back to a Big 12 championship and a number one ranking in the country, at one point in time. So much that I gained from that man on how to run a program, and that system's been tweaked over 20 some years, right, of him being a head coach. And that's how you really get a good system, is it just learns and gets better each and every year. And so I was able to take a lot of that experience that I had from him again, and a lot of experience I had from the things that we had accomplished at Wyoming and Houston, and try to put them into place here. And hopefully with the good Lord's help, it all comes to fruition.
What was it like when he got mad? Because he was a very mellow guy. I've always wondered what I mean, you could tell when he was disappointed. Kansas State's playing bad. You can say, man, that's going to be bad in the locker room by his standards. But, he's not a peel the paint off the walls guy.
He's not, and that was one of his greatest strengths, is he worked you extremely, extremely hard, and made you the best coach you could be and the best player you could be. And I never heard him raise his voice at anybody in all the years I've spent around that man. I never heard him raise his voice one time. And how many people can you say that about? But he knew how to crank the pressure down on you. You know what I mean? He'd crank the pressure down, and his infamous thing was his dictaphone, the dictaphone that he used, that he'd make comments in practice. So if you did something wrong at practice or your players did something wrong, boy, he'd pull out that dictaphone and stand right. Sometimes he'd stand so you could hear what he was saying on the dictaphone,
Coach, go ahead.
Or that, and then he'd give us notes after every practice in our mailbox. We'd get notes about what we did well and what we didn't do well at practice. I thought, I don't do that, but I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do.
Definitely. Coach, I'm a part of the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. It takes a look at the best players playing in the state of Texas or from the state of Texas. And you have a young man on your roster that's not from the state of Texas originally. He's an Arizona native, but Jacob Cowan, your sophomore wide receiver, he's had a big year thus far. And you guys are obviously winning games, but what kind of a talent is Jacob Cowan, and what kind of a difference has he made for your football team, especially still being such a young receiver?
He's not the biggest guy. He's super fast, and he's really, really smart. And he just makes plays, and he understands how to get open, and then he makes the tough catches. He's, obviously he's doing for us what Tyler Lockett did for us at K-State, and he's that type of player, and I think, obviously it's early to put him in that type of a category, because Tyler's one of the best guys in the NFL right now, but he's on that track, that you can just see that he's got that kind of potential to him, because they're so similar. They're very soft-spoken guys. They prepare really hard for games, and their teammates love them. And so there's a lot of similarities. And Jacob's just got a huge skill set to him.
You mentioned the junior college recruiting. You played at Hutchinson Community College, one of the better junior college programs. That Kansas, that Jayhawk Conference, I think is what I covered. Junior college football quite a bit in here in Texas with Tyler and Trinity Valley, Navarro, some great teams, Blinn. How much did that help that you played at a junior college to help you recruit it, or does it?
It does. You know what I mean? I understand what kind of hunger you have when you're at a junior college, and how excited you are to get to a Division I program. And then once you get there, what it takes to convert into making yourself even though you might have been a star at JUCO, you got to convert to a whole nother level. So I have a feel of what that takes, and I have a feel what kind of guys can do that, can thrive in this type of situation, what type of personality it takes. Because obviously I had a lot of my teammates that went on and did well, a lot of them that went on didn't do well, right? So that does help. It definitely helps. And the other thing that's been really, really helpful because that's been our junior college recruiting has just been, we've been really, really blessed with it, is a lot of these Texas coaches were coaching at other Texas junior colleges that are coaching in them now. 20 some years ago when I was recruiting guys to Kansas State and to Arizona and to those places. And so we still have all these contacts, and they've really been helping us and taking care of us.
your recruiting area is pretty unique. I mean, Texas is a big, gigantic state. El Paso's just out on the the end of Texas or the beginning, I guess, which depending on which way you're coming from. But you also maybe have a little bit more of a dip into California and Arizona and some other places. Has that made it interesting in building this roster, in that it's not just about Texas, it's about some other pretty big states too?
It's been kind of fun, guys. We've really dipped into California and hit on some really, really good players out of California, some O-linemen, that are very good players for us. And we've hit on some DBs and some receivers in SoCal. So it's fun because, we're only 10 hours away from Los Angeles, and it's not that bad of a drive at all. So it's been nice. And then Arizona's football's getting better and better. And, obviously that's a proximity state for us. And so we'll really start, that's where Jacob's from. Actually, we got 4 guys from his high school on our roster right now on scholarship. And so we're really trying to delve into Arizona. And the nice thing is Arizona football is getting better and better. But it's all been about our Texas ties. That's why it was a good fit for us here because, being in Texas I've never recruited anywhere myself but Texas as my main recruiting hub ever since my first recruiting spot. 1987, I'm a graduate assistant and one of our full-time coaches leave, and they throw me in San Antonio for my first recruiting experience. There's some deep, deep ties with my history in recruiting the state of Texas.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach, having the success that you guys are having, and given how much there's been struggles previously, do you have to, or how do you go about balancing having success but keeping that success going and not getting too over the moon? I hope that makes sense. How do you, on a week-to-week basis, keep that focus when things are going so well, but realizing at the same time there's still so much more out there?
That's such a great – that's the number one thing that's on your mind. That's a thought because that's the truth, right? And obviously I was able to be a part of it at other places, and so that helped, to learn and watch how the teams need to be managed. But the biggest thing is that's what I will tell our guys all the time. To me, it's just as hard to handle prosperity as it is adversity, right? And sometimes it can be even harder because a lot of us have had more adversity in our lives, whether it be growing up or whatever, a lot of guys I deal with, than they have prosperity, right? And so this thought of handling prosperity has to go back to our preparation and how we practice. And so I've really been dwelling on them is that we got to practice well. We're not going to play well unless we practice well, and you guys stay really locked into your schoolwork and managing your lives off the field. And so, we have the highest GPA here. We can only go back and find the last 15 years, and we have the highest GPA in the last 15 years by far. And so I just feel like the character of our kids is important. And they got to really pull together with each other and say, hey guys, it's just 1-0 mentality, right? I mean, that's Bill Snyder's big thing, 1-0 mentality, and we try to live by that.
How much does what we've seen since the late July earthquake with Texas, Oklahoma, and the SEC, how it affected the Big 12, and they recovered, and now the American Athletic, and they're adding, and how it affects where you are, the Conference USA or the Sun Belt or whoever. How much does that take time away from your day, or is that that's an athletic director and president type issue?
Yeah, that's the athletic director and president issue, guys, and our job is to put the best product we can put up there on the field and give them as much leverage as they can possibly have, and that's my job. And so I'm just trying to give, our administration as much leverage as we can possibly give them to get us to where, where we want to be and where we need to be, and that's, and I feel like our president and AD are doing a magnificent job with that. And, we just had a meeting and it's all going to be good for UTEP, but we got to do our part. And that's put a great product out there and make something people are proud of.
Thank you very much, Dana. Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for your time. Good luck going forward. Happy to see what you're doing with the Miners. That's Dana Dimel, coached under Bill Snyder for a long, long time, was a part of that Big 12 championship team in 2012 that lost the chance of a national title, at least ended up playing Oregon, lost in the bowl game. That was the goal line stand, and then all hell broke loose. 52-24 Baylor. Yeah. Beat K-State. The 98 game, of course, is something K-State fans may never get over, the loss in the Big 12 title game to A&M. They have been right on the cusp and has been in the mix. And what they did at K-State and Chris Kleiman there now.
UTEP's had a good little NFL player here for a while. Old Aaron Jones, coming out of UTEP, playing for the Packers the last several years, has made a good mark for Green Bay. And, you don't really hear the UTEP connection much, but I remember that very well from Aaron being on the Earl list a lot. And now I'm seeing Jacob Cowing on there all the time. He's a good little player if you haven't seen UTEP play. But it is a very cool deal to see. I mean, they've won far more games this year than they did the previous 3 years combined. So they've got something good going right now. And he sounds like he's got a good, group of young men in that locker room, and they've got the right mentality. And, that's a place out there in El Paso where, it is very interesting geographically. And it's also, a place that's growing and growing and growing as well. So congrats to Dana Dimel on the start they're off to. I hope they keep it up, and I really appreciate talking to him.
All right, UTEP again, they're 6-1. Their loss was to Boise State. Got blown out in that game at Boise State. They have Florida Atlantic coming up, not this weekend. They have the off week. They just beat La Tech 19-3 to become bowl eligible.
That's a big deal.
They got UT San Antonio in 3 weeks, which we know we had Jeff Traylor on earlier this week. When we come back, Grayson Grundhafer, Sick'em365.com on Baylor. Coaches are on the road this weekend. What are they doing? Sick'em365.com and Sick'em365 Radio. Ideal MRI. In fact, it's like 5 minutes from where we are inside this press box at Panther Stadium at Midway High School. Central Texas Marketplace, where there's all sorts of stores, but right there in the middle of it is idealmri.com. They have state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art MRI machine, and I've been in it 2 or 3 times, and what it can find is what hurts you. Or maybe something else that they just want to know, a doctor wants to know more about. Could it be a rotator cuff? Could it be something with a ligament in your knee? And you don't want that. But if it is, they'll find it, and they'll be able to send the images and all of everything else, the evidence, to your doctor, orthopedic surgeon, or doctor. And also peace of mind for you that maybe it's not bad. IdealMRI.com also can save you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. Their MRIs are $497 every time and or less. $497 or less every single time. Help you with insurance to make that even lower. And the average MRIs can be as over $1,000, if not in some cases double that. IdealMRI.com with Dr. Rob Maxey, Al LeBlanc, and a great staff of Texan specialists in the Central Texas Marketplace just off of I-35 in the Highway 6 access road, IdealMRI.com.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $4,000 down, cash or trade. See dealer for details.
Hit the road and save on a reliable pre-owned vehicle from Richard Carr. Savings like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $211 a month, or a 2014 Cadillac CTS sedan for $288 a month. Plus, we pay top dollar for your trade. All pre-owned cars and trucks go through a 172-point inspection. With multiple lenders, we say yes when others say no. Hit the road and save at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we are with Grayson Grundhafer. It's an off week for Baylor, but the coaches have been on the road throughout the week, and they're out. Of course, games throughout the state of Texas, even the one we have between Midway and DeSoto. This game here will have a handful, if not a dozen or so, Division I type players with the DeSoto roster. How good, in fact, a running back that's committed to Oregon. Grayson, well, they're all over the place, right? Where are they? Do you know?
Oh, sorry.
Over the place. And don't forget, you also mentioned DeSoto. I mean, Devin Bobby, the Baylor commit,
absolutely,
DeSoto as well. So a lot of talent on that DeSoto team. And as far as the Baylor coaches go, I mean, so let's just go through the first part of this. Their priority during this bye week was making sure they went and saw every single commit in the 2022 class. So, I mean, Baylor has commits in Oklahoma, Missouri, Colorado, Texas. So, lots of visits, lots of different traveling and things like that. And then, you know, from that, there's a lot of coaches recruiting their area and also coaches recruiting their position. So it's kind of a mix and match. Obviously, if your area happens to also have one of the commits or one of the high priority prospects, then, you know, that coach will go see that prospect, such as, you know, Joey McGuire went and saw Tyler Jordan up in Lubbock Cooper. On his way back, he went to Post and saw Isaiah Crawford, a 2023 commit. Both are linebackers. Both are guys he was very influential in their recruitment. So it's been things like that. They're just trying to make sure that they can see as many prospects as possible. But again, the commits are the priority during the bye week.
Grayson, what do you think the focus has to be in well, I guess they're not really, I guess they are. It's October and they're in the home stretch right now of the home stretch of recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, so it's become pretty obvious that the defensive line is an area they would like to address. They actually just put out a 2022 offer a few days ago to Paul Oyewale out of Langham Creek High School. So another defensive line offer goes out. They're still recruiting Calvin Dinkins out of Mississippi and Devontae Tizzino, who actually goes to Colleen Ellison. So those 3 defensive linemen, they're still recruiting all 3, and now it's just a matter of, you know, do they take 1? Do they take 2? They probably have 2 or 3 spots left in the class. So I think they'll probably take 1 of those 3 is what it's looking like, hopefully, if they can land one. And then I think the other area is cornerback. Currently, Reggie Bush is the only commit in the class at cornerback position. So they'd like to add another one if possible. The top prospect currently is Clean Shoemaker's Kamari Terrell, who they've been recruiting for a while now. So I would say those two positions they're definitely going to address, and then maybe they'll have one more available for a best available type. Maybe one of those four guys I mentioned, or who knows, maybe a high priority prospect that they're able to land as the season goes on and they keep winning.
Grayson, have you been able to get any type of reaction or feedback from some of these recruits, whether committed or otherwise, on the season Baylor's having thus far, being 6-1, and just your own thoughts? I mean, here we are in the open week. They're 6-1. They're bowl eligible. They're right there in the thick of the Big 12. Your thoughts and what you may have heard from some prospects, because obviously last year there wasn't a whole lot to glom onto, but this year a big turnaround.
Yeah, definitely. I think from recruits' perspective first, I think really they get the best sense when they actually show up on campus. And Baylor's been able to get many of their high-priority prospects on campus for games, so they're able to see the environment, see the atmosphere, see Baylor win football games. And I think that's been really helpful. And I would say the things I keep hearing are more about, okay, the atmosphere is great, and the things they're seeing on the field are great. So obviously Baylor's defense has been really good. That's not surprising from last year. I think every recruit knew Baylor was going to play good defense. So most defensive prospects were already really excited with the possibility of playing for Dave Aranda and knowing that he's a defensive guru. But I think it's the other side of the ball where I'm probably hearing the biggest shift. You know, you're hearing offensive linemen really excited with the dominant performance the Baylor offensive line is having. When you're running for 300 yards in a conference game, that just wasn't happening at all last year. They were lucky to run for 300 yards the entire season. So I would say that's where you're hearing it a lot. And then obviously, I think quarterbacks and receivers and running backs are just happy with the scheme, happy with the simple fact that there's stats to be put up. There's offense that's moving the football. They're scoring. And I think Jeff Grimes' offense is one that's very appealing to recruits. And so I continue to hear that quite a bit.
Grayson, with what you've seen, with what they've done with the running game, and what we've seen with Abram Smith, he's a senior, but I believe he has a year left, unless I'm wrong, because he was injured early on as well. And hell, I don't even know anymore because there's the freebie year, there's the mulligan year, there's the redshirt year. But with what you know from Jenkins, the running back out of Lindale, and what he does, is he just even more now a perfect fit with what they're going to do in the future or what they're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Jenkins is a young guy, so I mean he's got a lot of years left, and there's guys ahead of him that are hungry to get on the field as well. I mean, you're talking about Tay McWilliams, who, frankly, during his time that he's been in games, I mean, he's looked extremely impressive. He's a guy who, if someone, you know, heaven forbid, got hurt or injured, I think he's definitely the guy they would lean on. But I do think in the future, maybe the next year, because I mean, I've heard great things about what Jordan does, and Jordan's size, his strength, his power. You know, you saw it at Lindale. His ability to, you know, get the ball 40 plus times some games and not wear down is something they need in this offense, which is why Abram is playing running back. You know, they needed a guy like that, a guy who was going to get them positive yardage and could take on, you know, 30 carries if need be. So, yeah, I think Jordan's a perfect fit. I think Tay McWilliams is another guy, like I said, to look forward to. And, you know, guys like Quaylen Jones and Jonah White and, of course, Squirrel Williams, you know, they're going to be in the mix as well. So it's a very talented room and one that I think has a very high ceiling going forward, especially in this wide zone offense. And I'll also say, guys, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the stats for the Baylor commit in this class, Richard Reese out of Belleville. But don't sleep on him either. He's a guy who has been absolutely terrific. He's averaging 12 yards a carry and has 20 touchdowns in 7 games.
Yeah, he was a great interview. We enjoyed the heck out of having him in on the show back when he committed to Baylor as well. Grayson Grunhafer, Sikkim365.com with us. It's an off week, but it's not an off week. There are coaches all over the country as well. Grayson, the team, when you look at the health of it, when you look at where they are, when you look at what the expectations were, they're bowl eligible. Your thoughts about as they get this off week and then move into the next part of their schedule as well with Texas in a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd like to say the bye week came at the worst time just because they've had a lot of momentum. But then on the flip side, I sit here and look at their schedule and I go, okay, maybe it came at the perfect time because there are a lot of battles that are about to come up the rest of this season. I mean, you're talking about games against Texas, TCU, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and Texas Tech. I mean, that's a tough schedule to end the season. And I think this Baylor team, the bye week came at the right time. They look healthy, but I think they could get even healthier. I think that coming at the middle of the season is kind of perfect. You get to get your young guys some reps, and you get to kind of see what you have with those guys heading into the final stretch of the season. So, it's been a great year. I think there's a lot left to prove and a lot left to do this season. They're 6-1, but I know they're hungry for more. This is a team that feels like they can compete and win a Big 12 championship. In order to do that, they're going to have to put together quite a few wins to finish the season. But I would say, I think right now, any Baylor fans got to be really excited with the product they've seen on the field. And Baylor's going to be in every single game going forward. They're going to have a chance to win every game, and that includes a potential Big 12 championship. I mean, that's how improved they are this season. It's truly remarkable. And I think, if Mike Gundy wasn't having the season he was having, Dave Aranda would easily be the coach of the year in the conference. It's been very, very fun to watch.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend as well. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com. Every Tuesday, he and Craig Smoak both put up an hour-plus long Bearcast that's incredibly popular on everything Baylor as well. When we come back, Dan Luss, sports law attorney, I want to look into that Deshaun Watson trade discussion and how that maybe legally, how that works out. And, yes, even more when it comes to college football and other stories as well. Dan Luss, sports law attorney, next on 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and maybe as you get older, used to be. Things change as you get older. A lot of things change inside your body, including your testosterone level that can drop. It happens. It's father time. Dr. Kent Petty, go to pettycliniclowt.com. Top left-hand corner, there's an email and phone number. Contact them. Tell them I sent you. And I'll tell you what, if you have had issues with your sleep habits, your energy, or your sex drive, any of those three, all of those three, or any or two of those three, they can help you out, or at least try to help you out and get you in a program to increase your testosterone levels at pettycliniclowt.com. So contact them. Dr. Petty and his staff will set you up to get your lab work, blood test, blood results. He'll look at the results, and if your testosterone level's too low, he can put you in a program to increase them to help you become the high-performance man that you want, need, and maybe used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Bird Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sikkim Bears.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's Margaritas and Mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work, and Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch. Installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Smith piercing the line, lacerating that defense and inside the 20. Malik Moore finally pushing him out of bounds.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I started following Dan Lust at Sports Law Lust on Twitter and started to notice what he covered. He's also a part of a podcast, Con Detrimental, and that's on Twitter as well, but also elsewhere. He's been on ESPN, CBS, Fox, etc., New York Law School professor, and he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So thanks, man. Appreciate you being a part of the show, as always, on Sports Law. And I love it. People, I have a couple of questions I was asked to get your way as well today, which we will. But so what's going to happen with Congress, the Washington football team, and the NFL? How's this going to turn out?
So, first of all, always a pleasure to join you guys. I think, when you hear this stink for these emails, right, there's 650,000 emails stemming from this Washington football team investigation. I think one note, which I don't know if everybody saw, I was under the impression initially that these 650,000 emails belonged to multiple employees across the organization. There was a report that these emails are essentially emails that were either sent to or from Bruce Allen, the former president and general manager of Washington football team. So put another way, they only looked at one guy's emails. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, at a larger level, I'm seeing the public outcries for these emails to be released. And I've gone on a number of shows. David, you mentioned I go across the country, and I said the NFL is not obligated to give out these emails, right? They're a private entity. They do not answer to fans, calling for the release of the emails. But they do, to some extent, have to answer to the federal government, right? Just like we saw years ago. People remember when baseball was put on Capitol Hill with the steroid trial, or even, the research into the concussion protocol in the NFL. The leagues have to answer to the government. There's certainly ramifications for not doing that. But yeah, how I think this is going to play out, I think, there's a chance that we get someone like Roger Goodell speaking on Capitol Hill and speaking on, in front of a live and captive audience, which he does not normally do. And that might force the NFL's hand to some extent.
Dan, we've also heard reports that there is no written report on the Washington football team investigation, that the findings were handed down. Now, we kind of have some experience with this in Waco, and that was the Pepper Hamilton didn't have a fully written report as far as everything that went on. For people who aren't familiar with this, why would there not be a written report, or is that just one of those things you say so that they can't subpoena one?
Well, I guess a little bit of background. I could talk about this case for probably an hour, but I'll kind of condense it very tightly here. This was an investigation that occurred over the course of a year of Washington football team. Sexual harassment issues involving the owner, Dan Snyder, toxic workplace, some really messy allegations. That was an institutional alleged failure. So Washington brought in their own law firm. They got to pick who they chose. And the NFL could have said, don't use that firm. They allowed Washington to pick this firm. So for a year, right, a law firm is billing God knows how many hours, spending, I'm sure at least six figures in terms of legal fees. And for there not to be a final written product is a little strange. You ask me why they wouldn't want a written report. It's, transparency. They don't want this thing leaking. They don't want their owner, Dan Snyder, to be kind of put on blast. So, I'm sure the law firm was ready, willing, and able to write a written report. That's what we do as lawyers. We write reports. We write periodic status updates, right? Every couple months, or maybe every 90 days. But for there to be no paper trail for 365 days of work, right? Probably hundreds of thousands of hours billed. I think it's fair to say it's a red flag that they didn't want a written report, so no one could see what Snyder did wrong. So we don't have any knowledge as to what they found. All we know is that Dan Snyder was fined $10 million for a billionaire. That's the equivalent of a slap on the wrist. And we don't have any report, right? Deflategate with Tom Brady, we had a 200-page report. The Mitchell report in Major League Baseball once upon a time with all the different steroid offenders, huge report. And nothing here. So certainly a red flag, and not necessarily par for the course.
So, Dan, what is if you're a Washington football team fan wondering when this comes to a close or what have you, what's sort of the next step, if any, as far as this goes, and Daniel Snyder and all of that?
I mean, I think, and I remember talking about this a year ago. I said these allegations are really bad. I mean, it goes up and down, right? So I would think this would be something that would get him in more trouble than a slap on the wrist, but it did not, right? They didn't lose draft picks. They didn't lose anything like that. He wasn't, kind of forced by the NFL to sell the team as what occurred with Jerry Richardson, owner of the Carolina Panthers once upon a time. NFL doesn't want to do that with Snyder. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't think there is a world where the NFL wants to force Snyder out. I think, unless there's some crazy emails that we don't know about, like what happened with John Gruden. But I think, next phase of this, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure applied by the U.S. government to figure out what happened in that investigation. So certainly there was an oral report given by the law firm to the Washington football team. Maybe they'll call that lawyer up and ask her to speak about exactly what they found during that investigation. And there was a comment from the House Oversight Committee that Washington football team has to be, aware of discrimination in the workplace, right? You should be able to speak to that and promote what you did if you really did conduct a thorough investigation.
From Chris in the chat room, Dan Lust is really good. I love the segment they did with him a month ago. We got a lot of great feedback. Here's a question from the website from Surf Oso. With all these NIL deals for these kids, what are the IRS implications of accepting them, both athlete and sponsor, not really caring about $300 for an athlete to promote a local pizza joint, but the big ones like Alabama, the quarterback there, Rattler, and Kentucky player driving a Porsche?
I guess it's going to be state specific to some extent. I don't profess to necessarily be a tax expert, but I do know that this issue is still being hammered out. I do know that there are people that are pleading for a federal name, image, and likeness bill to kind of have some clarity on that ground. I think an interesting one, I mean, it's not necessarily what you guys asked, but I'm looking over at the Spencer Rattler situation for anyone following college football. The guy signed a ton of deals, right? I'm not sure the exact equivalent, but I think mid to high six figures is fair, and the guy might be out of a job, right, at Oklahoma. So, from a legal standpoint, what I'm looking for is if any businesses try to find a way to get out of these deals, right? Frustration of purpose. Like we saw during the pandemic, people used force majeure to get out of deals. we're not going to see force majeure, but frustration of purpose is, I think a reasonable tactic to try to get out of the deal. And we'll see if it comes to fruition. Some business is going to try it despite the bad PR with the amount of money they were shelling out. So we'll see. We'll see if it comes there.
Dan, was reading some of your tweets about Deshaun Watson the other day. He has not been suspended by the league, and the assumption, I guess, is that Roger Goodell hasn't felt the need to suspend him because he told the Texans he's not going to play for them. The Texans have obliged to the request of not trying to even make him play, or do anything like that. And they were headed down this road before all of the allegations came up. But say he is traded to the Dolphins here in the coming week, and the Dolphins make him active and try to play him, and then the NFL suspends him. That seems to be a little upside down, that he wouldn't have just been suspended in the first place, because, again, the grand jury hearing on this is not until after the Super Bowl. So it's still going to be out there until next season, no matter what.
Yeah, the civil case is going to keep going because they set depositions after the Super Bowl. So the case itself is going to keep going in the civil end. The grand jury indictment, they've had this report that's gone out. I mean, that might occur, in the next month, 6 weeks. That's certainly possible for criminal charges. But I'm with you. I find it very odd that the catalyst to put Deshaun Watson or take him off the field would be a trade when the civil allegations really haven't changed in a couple months. But that's the sense I'm hearing, right? That the reason that that Roger Goodell did not necessarily punish, or I'm going to say punish, but take him off the field on this commissioner's exempt list is because the Texans maybe gave him word that they weren't going to be playing him. So if they weren't going to play him, right, why does Roger Goodell need to go out and make a statement and put him on the commissioner's exempt list? So, but I think optically it sends the wrong message that, hey, they're going to trade him to a team that wants to play him, and now we're going to take him off the field. I don't necessarily think that's fair to any team that trades for him, be it the Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins. And I don't really necessarily think it's fair to the Houston Texans that they've been kept in the dark this whole time. So, yeah, I do find it odd. Again, the allegations haven't really changed since they came out. We know what they are. They're not good, but they are civil allegations. So, for Watson's purposes, if you haven't punished him yet, why would you punish him now? I don't really think it's fair to anyone involved.
Yeah, it's all very bizarre. Dan, Jeremy Pruitt, former Tennessee head coach, his lawyer came out this week, basically threatened to go scorched earth on Tennessee, said they've got info that'll make them look bad, all this other stuff. Your thoughts on Jeremy Pruitt and a lawsuit against the Tennessee Volunteers?
So I guess let's hit Pruitt first, right? Pruitt went 16-19 with UT. It's one of the worst. Well, we'll say the SEC's version of UT, not the Big 12 version
right.
of UT. But yeah, it was a really low mark historically for the program, and he gets fired. There's some allegations that potentially level 1, level 2 violations were likely to result. Underneath Jeremy, I apologize. My dog is making a cameo.
Oh, that's fine. What's the name of the dog?
I guess that's more important. The dog is named Harper.
Okay. All right. Good. That's an interesting, unique name.
Yeah. So I guess the long and short, there is 34 cause provisions to fire Jeremy Pruitt for cause. And one of them is that if there was likely to result in level 1 or level 2 violations, you could fire him, right? Or even just if the employees underneath you were running amok, that was cause for firing. So whoever drafted the contract in the first place really made it easy for Tennessee to fire him for cause. And, I think they're probably met here. And if they're not, Jeremy Pruitt's lawyer is making, we'll say, an odd strategy. He's going, and as you guys point out, he wrote a lawyer letter to UT to essentially say, if you don't settle with us now, not only are we going to sue you, but the allegations that we're going to bring against you will cripple UT, will cripple the program. We're going to bring in the basketball coach. We're going to bring in Phil Fulmer, the former coach with Peyton Manning's team back in the day. We're going to subpoena, donors and former players. It just seems very odd, right? He's coming with a lot of threats and not a lot of substance as to why Pruitt was not fired for cause, which it seems like there was cause here. So, yeah, very odd, but it's $12.6 million on the line. And I don't think Pruitt's going to ever coach again in the college ranks. So maybe he's scratching and clawing for any buck he can get at this point.
Hey, Dan, thank you. Guys, anything else?
Dan, you're not lacking in stories these days,
Yeah.
are you, man?
It's constant.
Yeah.
I have one more.
I'll give you guys. Oh, go ahead.
I have one more. Nick Rolovich is going to obviously bring a suit on being sued because his state had a vaccine mandate. He's the highest paid employee in the state. He got fired because he didn't comply with that vaccine mandate. And without getting in the weeds about his exemption and all that, how curiously are you watching this? Because I'm sure there's going to be a great many vaccine mandate lawsuits coming in the coming year.
Right. I mean, just on its face, right? Rolovich signed a contract that required him to comply with university rules and state law, right? You have to have your coach complying with state law. You can't be doing things illegal without fear. I mean, this happens to be a vaccine mandate, which when Rolovich signed the contract, I don't imagine he thought we were going to have a pandemic with a vaccine mandate passed. But, be it as it may, that's what the Washington State's saying, that he was fired because he didn't comply with a law. And not to get into the, religious exemption and whatnot, but that's his argument. He's saying this was a pretext to fire me because you didn't agree with my religious belief. So, yeah, I'm either way, right? Whatever side of this lawsuit you fall into, it's not going to be the first of these, and certainly, it's not the last. But yeah, we're seeing these lawsuits pop up across, municipalities, police officers, airlines. So it's the first one to really hit college sports. So I'm excited to see it in that sense.
Dan, as always, thank you. Appreciate that. Craig?
Dan, looks like there might be a big story coming out of the NBA. Is that correct in regards to the Phoenix Suns?
There you go.
That's what I was about to tell you. A Donald Sterling-esque situation looks like it's about to break with the Phoenix Suns. The owner might have been caught saying something. We'll see. The reports are all preliminary, but some really big sources behind it. So we'll see what comes of it. Robert Sarver over in Phoenix.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. That's Dan Lust, Sports Law Lust on Twitter. I didn't know that, Craig. I guess that's been popping. I don't have anything in front of me.
Jordan Schultz reporting that Breaking, the NBA is preparing for a massive story accusing Suns owner Robert Sarver of racism, sexism, and sexual harassment in a series of incidents, sources say. With enough evidence to support such claims, there's a real chance the league would forcibly remove Sarver. So
I got a question for you guys, and I don't know if this is a legal issue. It probably is. I should have asked him this, but we're up. No, we could have. Ben Simmons, we know he struggled in the postseason, and we know at times he's struggled, but he's using this mental health thing, right? Now, it's hard to have an opinion on that because you never know if it's true. It's true. You got to almost give them the benefit of the doubt. But he's using this now as a reason why he doesn't want to play.
I think the reason not to believe Ben Simmons is he's had several different reasons. I'm mad at Daryl Morey. I'm mad at Joel Embiid. My back hurts today. I don't want to do this drill. And now you're on to, now it's mental health. Well, I mean, actually, that actually would have been the best excuse that would explain all the rest of this stuff that he's having emotional issues.
And this is an insult to those who have mental health. Yeah. If you're using that as a reason, if it's not.
Now, the bigger issue here is, why are the Sixers trying to shove him back in when he clearly does not want to be there?
His teammates don't want him.
His teammates don't want him.
He's 25. He's very talented, but he also has some quirks and stuff. He's nearing $2 million in fines for missing games, practices, and meetings. There was a meeting this morning. I have not read up on it, whatever was said, even if they've released anything about what was said. But now you're going to claim that? See, that's a concern of mine, that this is now going to be a default. Well, I have mental health, and that's not fair to those who actually battle that.
Yeah, no, mental health is really a big deal, and I think that it has gotten a more positive spotlight, especially over the last couple of years. But I also think what it's done is it's created like a whole industry now that, is mental health related, which in some cases can be good. But I do think it's led to just numbers of people just citing mental health at every wrong turn or at every opportunity. And there are lots and lots and lots of people that truly do deal with it on a daily basis. There are people that are clinically depressed. There are people who are bipolar or whatever the case may be. And then there's other people that just have tough days. And I think that a lot of people who maybe don't have problems as big as they are just chalk it up to mental health now rather than, I had a bad day or just bad week or whatever. It's mental health. And so I don't know. I can't sit there and say that he doesn't have those issues. I'm not Ben Simmons. That would be wrong of me to say that he does not. But based on his history, yes, it's very curious that that's now suddenly something, unless it's been stated before and I just haven't seen it. But, one thing after another with this guy, and all of a sudden he needs a mental health break. Well, what was this entire, offseason for? I don't know. Ben Simmons is just He's an interesting dude. I don't know what to make of him, but if he does have mental health issues, then I hope he gets those corrected. If not, and he's using it as an excuse, I hope karma bites him right in the backside.
People keep saying trade him, right? Trade him. Well, again, that's kind of, are you going to trade him? He's going to all of a sudden it's going to be voila, he's fine. But Rich Paul told the Sixers officials he wasn't mentally ready to play his client Ben Simmons, and the message that Simmons relayed directly on Friday morning when they had the meeting. Meanwhile, Daryl Morey, remember him? Daryl Morey reiterated the team wouldn't be rushed into trading him. People should buckle in. This is going to take a long time.
Yeah. Well,
and he's missing tonight's game as well.
Yeah. Rich Paul, by the way, is Adele's boyfriend now, and which I thought was one of the most interesting celebrity couples I've ever seen. But I think this about Ben Simmons. Look, if you were just trying to play cards and to find which way the Sixers wouldn't make you show up to work, that's pretty shameful. And the Sixers need to trade him. But this thing is probably going to get uglier before it gets resolved.
Yeah. I mean, it's they haven't treated him completely well either. At the same time, he hasn't been treated. I mean, it's been back and forth between the Sixers and Ben Simmons. So it just seems like a divorce that needs to happen. Like I said, if he's got mental health issues, then I hope that's genuine. And if not, then I hope karma really bites him in a bad way, because there's too many people actually dealing with those types of things to have some Yahoo use that as some lame excuse to, not be criticized on SportsCenter. So if it's legit, good as far as it's legit that he's, addressing it. If it's not, then yeah.
All right. Mavericks opened up last night, by the way, and got smoked by Atlanta. That's a team that was red hot last year with Young. Is that right? The young kid and others.
The young kid, Trae Young.
Yeah, Trae Young from Oklahoma. We're going to pick games this week at some point during today's show, the Big 12 games and the top 25 games. The top 25 games really might be boring. And the Big 12 games, you never know. They could always be a little bit dicey. We're going to hear from a writer who covers Michigan. They're playing this week on the home, against Northwestern. Earlier I said Indiana. It's Northwestern. Indiana is the one hosting number 5 Ohio State. So we'll have that with Michigan. In fact, we'll do that coming up next. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now. Richard Carr, and of course, it's been an interesting time because they've had not a whole lot in terms of what's been on the lot at Richard Carr here lately. As we've made mention of, there's been a backup as far as vehicles go because inventory is just short worldwide right now with computer chip shortages. But there is a steady flow of vehicles that are going to be making their way to Richard Carr. General Motors has announced they are restarting production, and there are vehicles coming throughout the fall. Cars and trucks are on their way, so now's the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick or GMC Cadillac as they're being shipped. Get yourself in a new car sooner, drive a new car sooner when you get on Richard Carr's Choose Your Inbound Vehicle list, and you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. And if you're looking for specific vehicles, let's say, for example, a pickup truck, well, you can get a Sierra from Richard Carr, an ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury. Make Sierra the best truck on the road. If you want a roomy SUV, consider the Buick lineup of SUVs. And if you want the ultimate combo of sophistication and power, we'll check out the Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. If you're looking to save and drive today, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well. And 100% credit approval is always the goal. For those in the Waco area or Central Texas, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. So give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. And remember, get yourself on that Choose Your Inbound Vehicle list today to get cars and trucks as they arrive. Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
And Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
Christmas is the biggest time of year for engagements. You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Detroit News, Angelique Chengalis joins us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports on YouTube, Michigan, Northwestern, Ann Arbor, and Angelique joins us. Didn't you tell me you drove in there this afternoon, like you're just now getting into Ann Arbor right now?
I am actually headed there right now for a reception, and then I'm going to head to a high school football game to see a Michigan recruit, actually sort of a recruit of most teams, big teams, with Lloyd Carr's grandson, CJ Carr. Yeah, so that should be an interesting evening.
That's interesting. We're at a high school stadium ourselves for a broadcast that we have in Waco. Angelique, how legitimate? Michigan seems to be, and thank goodness for Jim Harbaugh and the program. They've bounced back from last year, but they're starting to hit the meat of their schedule after this weekend. How legitimate do you think they are?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what the second half of the season will show. I think that they're definitely overranked at this stage. I don't think that they're the 6th best team in the country, and I just base that on who they've played. But they've had a couple valuable wins on the road, playing back-to-back against Wisconsin and Nebraska in that night game in that really raucous environment. And they've shown some grit. I think that's the word that Jim Harbaugh likes to use to describe the team. But, I think they're going to find out a lot more, maybe not so much Saturday against Northwestern, but certainly the next week at Michigan State against an unbeaten team that I don't think anyone expected to be doing what they're doing.
How much has this quieted the noise around Jim Harbaugh, this start? Or the start's nice, but it's all about Michigan State, Ohio State, and the teams he has not been as successful at, if even not successful at all?
Well, he definitely came into this season with a hot seat. There's no doubt about it. And that was a big topic of conversation at Big Ten Media Days with Scott Frost in Nebraska and Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. And it's cool, but I think it's still tepid. They have started 6-0. I don't think a lot of people expected that. I think most people did not expect that. And it's going to be these next 6 games. They've got ranked games against ranked teams: Michigan State, Penn State on the road, and Ohio State. And if he loses all 3, then I think the conversation is valid. Have they made real improvement if they can't beat their in-state rival and Ohio State? And I know that the bar is very high to beat the Buckeyes, but they've got to get one of those 2. I think those first 2 games, Michigan State and Penn State.
Obviously, Iowa stumbled here recently, but what have you made of the Big Ten? Do you think it's as solid as it appears in the rankings? Certainly a lot of contenders at the moment, but what are your thoughts on the Big Ten as a whole this season?
Well, I think it reflects college football. A lot of upsets, a lot of teams you didn't expect to be near the top or at the top, and I think you're seeing that in the Big Ten as well. And that's speaking to Michigan and Michigan State at this stage. And on the West side, I thought the West Division, I thought Wisconsin would be up there, and they've struggled. And Iowa, Iowa does look like the best team, and then they lose. So I still think that's the team to watch in the West and will ultimately win it. But now you've got Minnesota making a little noise. You've got Purdue obviously breaking into the top 25 and made noise last week with a really huge win at Iowa. So, I don't know. I think you look at the Big Ten, and I just think it reflects college football, that it's anybody's game. It's every weekend. It's and I went to Cincinnati, so you're seeing Cincinnati elevated to that standard now at number 2. And I think that's, again, proof that this is a crazy season.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Big 12. We're happy to have Cincinnati. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really good for the program. When I was in school, and that was a while ago, they've been at least, 4 conferences since then, it seems like. But this is the big time for them. Being in a Power 5 and maybe getting some legitimacy that comes along with joining a conference like that, that'll be a good thing. But Luke Fickell has done an amazing job there, and he's certainly going to be on a lot of wish lists when these other job openings, the ones that are already available and other ones that will surely come. But I think Luke Fickell likes Cincinnati, and I think this is maybe going to make him stay, maybe stick around and see what he can do in the Big 12 and on the level with the big boys.
Angelique, that the landscape, of college football has changed dramatically since the Texas OU SEC story. Some conferences have been able to rebound and respond, and maybe even somehow survive and maybe even have even better things in the future. The Big Ten was always maybe that there's a team or 2 from the Pac-12 or whatever. Did they ever really blink at all? They're in great shape. I'm not saying they're not, money and everything else. Was there ever any kind of a blinking from the Big Ten?
I don't think so. They've got this alliance going now. There are a couple big name conferences, including the Pac-12, and I think that they feel really good about that. I don't think anybody really knows exactly what it means. Yes, they'll probably include some games against those teams in the football and basketball schedules. So I think they feel okay with that. But, I don't think that there's been a lot of talk about expansion. I think it's always on the surface. It's always bubbling. Who would come to the Big Ten and expand it even further. I think Kansas was a hot name. I think those are possibilities at some point, but I think that they feel with this alliance that they're in pretty good shape, and they don't have to do what the SEC is doing at this stage.
Are Michigan fans all behind Cade McNamara, or like the last few years, do they watch their quarterbacks just kind of grinting through their teeth?
What do you think? When they have a 5-star quarterback, a freshman, and J.J. McCarthy, who has been used here and there, and they've got some packages for him, and he's supremely talented, and he is definitely the future of Michigan football at quarterback. But I think Cade McNamara has some support, obviously. I mean, he's a guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He manages the game well, and he's gotten them to 6-0. And it's not all on Cade, obviously, but I think it's a big thing that he has had one turnover, and that came on a bad pass at Nebraska. And otherwise, he's been a really strong leader, and these guys follow him. And I think you can't undervalue or underestimate that.
Yeah, in that game with Nebraska, I'm a lifelong Nebraska fan only because I was born there. And that was dicey. And then they get the fumble. They rip the ball out of Martinez's hands. Right. And that's of course been Nebraska's MO, but that's kind of Michigan making a play. And you got to do that if you're going to get some wins that maybe that could have been a problem.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think the other big issue coming into the season with the staff upheaval and Jim Harbaugh really reconfiguring things and getting younger. He brought in a defensive coordinator who was unproven, came from the Ravens, young guy, 34, never coordinated a defense. No one really knew what to expect. Probably thought it would have, some similarities to what the Ravens run. And, you're seeing a defense that has made big plays when it's needed to. It did it against Rutgers when that quarterback was starting to give them problems in the second half. And then you get a quarterback like Adrian Martinez, who is better than Noah Vedral at Rutgers, and he again in the second half had success, and it came down to the defense making a big play, and it did. But so I think that's been a surprise also for Michigan fans, is seeing how much this defense has turned around since Don Brown's departure.
All right, so you mentioned Lloyd Carr. Is his son a grandson a quarterback? What position does he play?
He is a quarterback. His son Jason was a quarterback, was at Michigan, and now TJ Carr, his grandson, is a quarterback at Saline High School, and they're unbeaten right now. They had a really high scoring game last week, but he is getting interest from everybody. I mean, he's got offers, of course, already from Michigan. He's got Michigan State, Penn State. There's a lot of interest in this kid.
Well, if they don't get him, is that one of those things that will haunt Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, I think it's something that, I think most people think that he will be at Michigan, but, they're not making any promises. And as CJ has said, he wants to look around. He wants to see what's out there. And I think that's the only fair thing for him to do at this stage. But yeah, I think it's something that Jim Harbaugh would like to have is another car in the Michigan family here.
Angelique, thank you very much for your time. Again, she's at Ann Arbor for Michigan Northwestern. Next week, Michigan State. Thank you very much. She covers Michigan, the Detroit News, among other things as well, even the Lions or whatever. By the way, a college football note, Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State agreed to a new deal that will restore his perpetual 5-year contract. You think LSU has anything to do with that?
I mean, I think that, and the fact he's doing well, and he's clearly cleared the little OAN fiasco that he had last year. So
he took $1 million pay cut a year ago from a 5-year rollover to a 4 years, following the review of the program again by the OAN shirt and all that. And they're really, I got a text that I want to read from a fan about the Oklahoma State defense and how mentally tough they are. But that's good for him. Good for Mike Gundy.
Yeah, and on Michigan, I saw an interesting note earlier today. Tom Brady will be playing an Ohio State quarterback for the first time in his career. Justin Fields and the Bears. Huh. He's never faced, at least as he said, he's never started up against an Ohio State quarterback, and he's like, well, a whole lot of Michigan guys, not a whole lot of Ohio State. So he's got a little trash talk.
How come there aren't more Ohio State quarterbacks in the NFL?
Guess he just missed out on J.T. Barrett and
Ohio State just keeps beating them. It's been 10 years in a row or something like that.
Yeah, Ohio State keeps drilling them, but I guess Michigan's putting the quarterbacks in the league, so whatever. I don't know.
You think about the guys who've come out of Ohio State, since Brady. I mean, go way back. It was Craig Krenzel who won them a national title when Brady was probably a rookie in the NFL. So.
Is that the team that beat the unbeatable Miami?
Yeah. That'd be 2000. But
you don't have to be a pro quarterback to obviously win a college football championship.
No, but I mean, if you're a good quarterback,
most of them aren't.
Well, a lot of times, most of
the Heisman aren't.
Ken Dorsey was the Heisman Trophy candidate of the 2001 Miami team and was the worst player on the team.
Like he was the 31st ranked player. He was better.
He was good, but he was, and I say the worst player on the team. And I'm not trying to knock him. It's just he was on a team with Ed Reed and Sean Taylor and Santana, guys like that are all NFL players. And Ken Dorsey played a little bit in the NFL, but he wasn't going to start
until Burrow, LSU, with what they dealt with as far as the two that they had and. So it's part of the deal. Now, I'm going to read. This is Oklahoma State. I know we got a break here, but this is an Oklahoma State fan.
A new deal, or it's the money he took? Like, I don't understand. It's a new deal he's getting, or is that just recouping the money?
Restores the rollover to 5 years.
Yeah. So he has essentially a lifetime contract, but they're not calling it that because then that puts him in a position of like, you gave this guy a lifetime contract and then he does this, you know, which could be anything in college football nowadays, but it does, protect, like, if you're Mike Gundy, if LSU comes calling, like, are you going to give me a perpetual rolling over 5-year deal? No, because the minute Mike Gundy doesn't win at FSU, there's nothing perpetual about it other than the grief of LSU fans that he'll get. So so it's roll every time he's up for renegotiation, they just roll it over, and I'm sure they
doesn't mean he can't be fired. Doesn't mean he can't leave. It just,
I'm sure they renegotiate. His buyout's pretty low though. It's like $3 million. So
all right, from the 405, and this is a little bit of a long text. I'll try to scan through part of it, but a lifelong fan, current student at Oklahoma State. I've enjoyed listening to your show this year. I love how you guys are fans of football in general. Something I was thinking about, fascinated by today, came when I was thinking about Spencer Sanders at quarterback here and how we deal with the turnover issue. Something that I think gets overlooked due to the disappointment in the interceptions is how well this Oklahoma State defense responds to the adversity in the 5 defensive drives following an interception this year. 5 picks. The defense has allowed 6 points. The defense has actually scored 6 points and allowed none, including the pick 6 last week against Texas. The only interception was the pick 6 versus Tulsa that I believe is something that can't be coached. Is this a maturity issue? And how about the fact that defense can have that happen and pick up their teammate? I'll tell you what, Oklahoma State's defense is mentally tough. We know that because they almost got boat raced early against Texas. The pick 6 flipped everything around. They just tightened it up. Obviously, in-game adjustments, halftime. They're really good. And we said that from the beginning, even before they beat Baylor 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, they're good enough that your quarterback can throw a couple picks a game practically, and you don't lose games still. I mean, I think for most other teams, if they did what Spencer Sanders does sometimes, and look, I don't think he's a bad player by any means. I sometimes feel like I'm talking about him, though, like he is, because I just bring up the turnovers and the inconsistency, but that's just part of his game. There's a lot of parts of his game that are really good, obviously. He ran in the touchdown last week to basically win the game for him. So, I don't – it's just part of it. It's not a maturity thing at this point. I mean, he's been playing too much football to be immature in terms of the turnovers. I don't know how to explain why he has these lapses of judgment to where 1 second he looks like a top 10 pick and the next second he's just like, what are you doing? Like, what was that?
He's a live wire.
He's just a live wire. It's like, I mean, at this point, it's not changing. Like, it's just not. It's not changing.
We talked about him in the big one, too, this week. And one of the things I said is I kind of feel like Spencer Sanders is a guy who's playing in the wrong era because he's so athletic. He would have been great in the power eye or the option or something like that. And the reason I think that is because he would only have to throw so many times a game, so there wouldn't be any pressure. And you see they're taking that burden off of him.
How big is he?
He's plenty big, and he's got a great arm.
Yeah,
so, I mean, the only thing is he just makes dumb decisions sometimes. It's like it's just these lapses in judgment.
Maybe because his arm. Maybe he has that. I'm not comparing him to Brett Favre, but Brett Favre thought he could throw it through a keyhole.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of guys with big arms do. But, and to the Oklahoma State's defense credit, they just don't care. A lot of teams look at Tanner Mordecai at SMU. He throws a couple picks a game. The thing is that their offense is so prolific, they don't have to worry about it. So their offense is that defense because they know that they can, he can throw 4 touchdowns and throw 2 picks, but it's offset. Spencer Sanders is not going to throw, he threw 3 picks against Baylor. He wasn't going to throw 3 touchdowns in that game.
Probably not. From Donnie Hand, they should have taken care of Knowles, their defensive coordinator, first.
Probably. And they need to do that sooner rather than later. You're absolutely right. I mean, he's the key, more so than the quarterback we've been talking about. I mean, Spencer Sanders is a really good player, but they're winning games not because of him. They're winning games because of that defense. Bottom line, it's that defense. And every time they look like they've been figured out or like somebody's got their number, by the second half, they've tightened that down, and there's like nowhere. I mean, look at Texas last week. Just, hey, off to the races. Now, that game never got to like blowout levels or anything like that, But it did start to get separation, and it looked like UT, if not for that pick six, probably was going to start to turn it into a blowout.
It was going to be 20 or 24-3.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to turn into a blowout, and then they make a play right there, and next thing you know, flipped. I mean, it's like they always have an answer on defense, or they don't need one because they just established it so early on. Like Baylor's offense couldn't do anything against them. It didn't matter. The whole day they couldn't do anything against them.
The 4th and 1 when they popped the hole, which happened because everyone was crowded up front.
Right.
All right, we got to break.
But Oklahoma State's really good. Yeah,
they are, and they have Iowa State. That's the game I sit down. I might even have a little bit of that.
Well,
queso, some chips.
That's what I'm curious about.
We'll come back and discuss that game. Okay. All right? We got a break. We'll come back with that game in the Big 12. We'll discuss it and more. Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends. They have, of course, the Ram truck, the Ram Power Days, and every once in a while you look up, and yet again, here comes what Alan Samuels does, which are great deals on the vehicles they have. And here's a couple of the ones that I have for right now. From Alan Samuels. Right now, Ram trucks, and there are so many different options. The Ram Power Days, first truck brand to take the top spot overall in the new vehicle initial quality study, the J.D. Power. 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. You get a total of values of $6,000 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus a $2,000 bonus. And also, first responders get an extra $500 with that. Also, the rugged, elegant, beautiful third-row seating, the Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock. First responders offering an extra $500 for you as well. On this deal, the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited, total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on right now. Their lot, they have cars, trucks, and SUVs. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SI. by PC.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, we just spoke a little bit about Oklahoma State. These are the predictions. 4 games this weekend. Let's start with that one. Number 8 or 9, depending on the poll, Oklahoma State at Iowa State. Oklahoma State's a touchdown underdog in this game. Paul.
I'll take Iowa State at home.
Man, I don't know. I've gone back and forth. I really like Oklahoma State. And, this game's curious. It's gonna who can run the football? Mm-hmm. Like, who can run the football on the other defense? Is Jaylen Warren against the Cyclones, or is it, is Breece Hall able to do a little something?
What did both do? Yeah.
What if both do? I mean, what if neither do? I mean, that's what I'm saying is, like, who can run the football in this game? It's in Ames. I'll go Iowa State, but I don't feel, like, fully comfortable about it.
All right, then I'm just going to be different. And this what the hell? I'm not like I'm putting up $100 million on this. Oklahoma State has found a way to win, including how they did what they did last week on the road against Texas. Yeah, Iowa State, this is what they do. They come back around after it looks like they've buried themselves, or not buried themselves. So just for the hell of it, even though the odds say Iowa State, I'll pick the Cowboys. All right. Kansas State at Texas Tech. Kansas State's 3-3, have not won a Big 12 game. Texas Tech is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, 5-2, but 2-2 in the conference.
I'll take Kansas State. Kansas State's 0-3 because of who they played. They played Oklahoma, Iowa State, and somebody else.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State. So, like, maybe the 3 best teams in the conference, not named Baylor, too, you know? But, yeah, I mean, I could easily see Tech winning this game. It's in Lubbock. But I'm going Kansas State. I got to feel like Thompson is a little bit more mobile than he was since returning, and give it up to Deuce Vaughn against that Red Raiders defense. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in them, so I'll go K-State on the road.
I will too, and not just because they're due. I think they're better.
And look, at Tech wins, man. Like, shoot.
All right.
I mean, but I just think K-State is a better team overall, even though the record's not better.
Jennifer's at that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
cool.
She's at that game with all her sorority girls. That was all right, should we even Oklahoma at Kansas?
The Jayhawks, I'm just kidding. That's stupid.
Do you know
Oklahoma.
what the spread is in that game?
It's like 30
at least.
It's
off the
38.5.
Yeah.
See, I would know.
All it takes is like an early, you wouldn't be wrong to take Oklahoma in the points, but I don't know.
It's a lot of points, but it's also OU Kansas, so.
All right, West Virginia at TCU. The Frogs bounce back under the.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so.
TCU?
Yeah, I think TCU.
West Virginia has not won a conference
West
game.
Virginia is reeling right now.
Yeah, 2-4. Yeah.
Well, West Virginia's coming off of an open week, so I'm sure that'll help a little bit. But I don't know how that suddenly makes your quarterback play great and your offensive line block better and your defense get better against the pass. So, there's not a lot that has gone right to this point for West Virginia, and so I will take TCU, even though they've got quite, how healthy is Zach Evans now? But it sounds like he's going to be available this week. So yeah, they got a little bit too much firepower, I think, for West Virginia.
All right. So those are the 4 games in the Big 12 for this week. Of course, Baylor, Texas will play a week from Saturday.
If West Virginia had an offense, then maybe they could be a threat in this game, because TCU's defense isn't what it's been cracked up to be, but West Virginia just doesn't have an offense.
No. Not at all.
Yeah. All right. Let's pick a couple of national guys. I know we got a break, and we have Sam Bradshaw coming off his pregnancy. He's going to join us a little bit after 5 o'clock today.
His pregnancy.
All right. Stop me if you think somebody's going to lose as a ranked team. Cincy at Navy.
No.
No, I said stop me. Cincy at Navy. Number 6, Michigan home against Northwestern. Illinois at 7th ranked Penn State. 16th ranked Wake Forest at Army. Wisconsin.
Army's just an interesting team. You never know, but
Wisconsin at 25th ranked Purdue. Oregon 10th ranked at UCLA.
No, I don't think so.
Stop me. You don't know means you're stopping me. LSU at 12th ranked Ole Miss. Clemson at 23rd ranked Pitt. Tennessee at Bama. Can't believe you didn't say something. 22nd, San Diego State at Air Force. UT San Antonio at La Tech. Ohio State, Indiana. USC at Notre Dame. South Carolina at A&M. North Carolina State at Miami. There may be one or two, maybe.
And there might be some games that are upsets. I mean, what that you mentioned that, we don't think about. Could Clemson wake up on offense and beat Pitt? Yeah, but I mean, if Kenny Pickett, scores 24 points, Clemson has hardly done that this year.
Yeah, that's true. And, of course, SMU, again, winning big last night against Tulane. Appalachian State knocked out Coastal Carolina the night before. When we come back, Sam Bradshaw. It's an off week, but Sam has a way of looking ahead and also looking where Baylor is at the midway point and how this roster was built under Matt Rule and the players who are making the difference now. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street here in Waco. Hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco. Gorgeous walk-in fridge that they've got there, and they're always turning the roster, always making sure they've got the latest. It's autumn right now, so you get a lot of autumnal beers in there, some Oktoberfest stuff, and then of course we've got the winter stuff coming in here soon. That's always really good. So be sure to check that out as they roll it through. And of course their array of high-end bourbons: Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now's the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed: smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Backside heat, fumble, got knocked loose, it's on the ground. Loose ball, a big hit by T.J. Franklin. And the Bears have the football. And McClain is lit.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
2nd and 1. Keep it on the ground. Smith, touchdown. The Bears strike again.
It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of Sikkim365.com. Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
So during the break, Paul Catalina calls Sam Bradshaw and asks him how he's doing after the baby, which was delivered last Tuesday. It's not like he's staying up at night taking care of the baby. Sam Bradshaw, Sikkim365.com, football analyst, Baylor off week, but we're going to get into some things. Sam, are you, no, I got this. I'll go handle it. Are you doing that in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting up in the middle of the night. I'm doing what I can to take pressure off the wife, and definitely trying to do what I can to make it easier on everybody. So
I kind of get the feeling that when Craig and Jennifer were born, Smokey was just standing in the lobby handing out cigars.
No, I was there for both.
Okay.
I saw the miracle of birth. Believe me, I did. It's an amazing thing. All right. So did I see where you broke down the roster and how it was built? Was that your story, Sam?
Yes, I did that, and I also did a statistical look at how the Bears are looking this far into the season and how they're doing compared to other teams that have played against their competition.
So this was a roster that was initially built by Matt Rule and then, of course, cultivated from Dave Aranda and company. And what was the philosophy and what are the differences between what Matt Rule wanted, those players, and how they're performing and what Dave Aranda has been able to do to supplement it?
Well, thanks for having me on. And really, with Matt Rule, it was much clearer. And with Aranda, I think he's kind of co-opting a lot of different things that Rule was doing. I think it's a bigger departure from the prior staff before Rule, but effectively with Rule, he didn't care what a guy's star ranking was, but he didn't want anybody to be more athletic than his team. So if he saw a high upside guy with NFL measurables like offensive linemen with good mobility, arm length, things like that, if you had guys that could be 10-5 in the 100 meters, for instance, at skill positions, if you had guys with the frame that if you try and develop them and you hit, you've got not only an NFL player, but a high round draft pick. That's what he was going for. That's how he got a lot of high-end talent to a place like Temple before he even got to Baylor. And you didn't see many guys that were undersized get recruited by Baylor, period. And that has paid off over the last few years. And that's how you end up with a defensive line as athletic as you have it. That's how you have a secondary where guys can break into the open, but more often than not, the Baylor secondary is going to be able to run them down unless it's just an absolute burner. And when you look across the roster, this team absolutely looks the part at almost every position.
Sam, what do you give to the turnaround on offense overall? That were they built for this? They just weren't necessarily achieving it last year.
Well, last year was disappointing on the offensive side for more reasons than just, we're not moving the ball. It's disappointing from the standpoint that there was so much more talent than what the production reflected. I mean, you're talking about most of the same offensive line that got you to the Big 12 title game the year before, and you added an all Pac-12 offensive lineman to that group, and you ended up where you were. You brought back the same quarterback. You had a really solid group of skilled talent, but between COVID, between an offensive coaching room that just it never really clicked with some of the guys he brought from LSU and Fedora's guys, and Wickline was having trouble with this offensive line. Just across the board, it didn't really click. They tried to do a lot of different things, and they really weren't able to get it to a point where they could do any one thing well. So they were trying to be a jack of all trades, but they ended up being a master of none. Here, they're going in with the identity, we are going to run wide zone. We are going to stress you laterally and let our running back get it north-south. And from there, we have several counters built off of it. And we have the kind of roster at tight end, at running back, at receiver, and at quarterback to absolutely make you pay if you try and overcompensate. We're going to force you to be disciplined on defense. And if you're not able to do that, you're going to have Abram Smith or Treston Ebner running free through your secondary. And from there, they simplified to the point that the execution's there. I mean, last year against West Virginia to this year against West Virginia, I understand Darius Stills is a great defensive lineman, but his graduation did not account for the difference here. The fact that Baylor didn't get it in his own way accounted for a lot of it.
Sam, with some of the deep passes downfield that BYU was able to connect on, that was really all they were able to hit on offensively. Aranda addressed it a little bit in the post game. I'm looking around for concerns on this football team right now, and typically it'd be the O-line or a new quarterback. But as you've mentioned, like all those things have been great. There's not a lot to really, I think, be critical of with this football team. But just in terms of last week, what did you chalk up the results of some of those big pass plays to? And is it something that can be corrected rather easily?
Right. And if there's a concern on this team, it was the early weeks of the season where penalties and or turnovers were extending the amount of time that some weaker competition was able to stay in the game, or just the large amount of explosive pass plays that you gave up to Iowa State and to BYU. And Iowa State, a lot of that was really guys just blowing coverages on tight ends or running backs, and Iowa State taking advantage. With BYU, it was more of a mixed bag. There were a lot more plays where you had guys in phase in man coverage, and the receiver adjusts to an underthrow, or they hit a perfect back shoulder fade. And those are tip the cap to the opposition plays where you made it really tough on them and they were up for the challenge. And then there were other plays where the corner is in deep outside third and the receiver's running a post route. And it's basically a bigger receiver who's got 2 or 3 inches on the guy boxing out for a rebound on that post route. And that's another tip your cap. And then there was one where it looked like the corner expected help. And that's the one where they really got deep, where if it wasn't underthrown, it would have been a touchdown. That one looked like it was a mental bust. But aside from that one, it was mostly BYU just making really good plays. And remember, Jaren Hall is a really good quarterback. And the 2 receivers who did almost all those plays, Puka Nacua and Gunnar Romney, those are 4-star recruits out of high school with verified times in the 4.5 range. Those are guys that are going to be starters at most Power 5 programs. That wasn't the scout team doing it to you, and you made it hard on them on a lot of those throws.
Sam, the Baylor defense said we're going to stop the run, and my goodness, did they ever? Did you expect them to be able to do that?
I thought it could go either way, just given how familiar Grimes was with them, but I didn't expect that. Nobody had really shut them down on the ground all year. So I expected Baylor to have some success, but I didn't expect them to be as dominant in the trenches defensively as they were. I mean, BYU's one explosive run was a quarterback read where either Petrie needed to stay home from the quarterback or if Petry's going to come off the edge and attack the running back, Bernard would have needed to scrape over the top on a scrape exchange to be ready for him, where you're basically trading who's responsible for which gap. Obviously, neither of those happened, and they got a 56-yard touchdown run with a very fast quarterback. But other than that, they really didn't have anything on the ground all day. And that's between that and Baylor's ability to just maul the BYU front. I expected Baylor to be able to get most of what they wanted underneath in the passing game, just given the personnel differences and speed differential and how conservative BYU typically is. And I expected them to keep the BYU pass rush at bay. But BYU's got some old dudes that have seen several off seasons of weight room work and are pretty stout. And to be able to run basically at will against that group was very impressive. I didn't see that level of success coming. I saw success coming. I didn't see that level of success.
So with a little bit of extra time, I mean, I know we'll talk to you next week, Sam, about UT, but just in terms of Baylor in this off week, things to work on, that nature, I know obviously a lot of it's going to be off the field with recruiting and whatnot, but what are you hoping, what knives get sharpened, I guess, in preparation for Texas?
Defensively, you've got to be able to clamp down on those explosive plays. Simple recognition of what kinds of plays they might be throwing at you, that's going to go a long way. There were plays against West Virginia where they hit the slot post on an RPO that went for big yards. Can't afford to have the mental bust you had against Iowa State. That's certainly something that you're looking for, because I believe that Baylor's going to be able to score on that Texas defense. Mm-hmm. That Texas defense is a very athletic group, but I think they're a year away. I don't think they're necessarily comfortable in their system yet under the new defensive coordinator. I think they'll get there. I think they've got a good staff in Austin, but I think Baylor's going to be able to get moving on them, and I think they'll be able to get moving on TCU, who's struggling on defense for maybe the third time this century.
Yeah. Yep.
But both they and Oklahoma coming up, those three can really stress your defense. So while you definitely face some of the better defenses in the conference on the front end of your schedule, you're going to get some of the better offenses on the back end. So you definitely need to be ready for that challenge, because it's going to be a big step up going from playing Kansas and West Virginia to playing Oklahoma and Tech and Texas and TCU on offense. Those teams are moving the ball on most everybody, and that's going to be a challenge.
All right, so who do you have? Oklahoma State, Iowa State?
I normally don't bet against Gundy because he just finds a way to continually win. But as good as Oklahoma State's been, I fear that Iowa State's going to be very motivated. And I think their system is very well designed to limit the big play. And they'll be disciplined against a lot of the wide zone that Oak State runs. And I just think Spencer Sanders is going to cough up a turnover or two in a defensive game. And I think that'll be enough for Iowa State to eke it out. Wait, are they in Ames or are they in Stillwater?
They're in Ames.
Yeah.
All right. In Ames, cyclone warning.
Cyclone warning.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Should be a great game, though.
A warning's
really
worse than a watch, right? A cyclone warning's worse than a watch.
Yes, a warning is a warning.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sam Bradshaw and the father of a brand new one.
Yeah. Have fun with that, Sam.
Yeah. Used to like the changing the diapers when you had the little baby powder that always smelled so good.
You liked that?
The baby powder's cool. Yeah.
I mean, you can just get baby powder. You don't have to wipe another person's backside.
No, there's something special about baby powder on a baby's butt. It's just, it's a little bit, it's a special difference. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that, there's not like a law that like you can go buy baby powder. They say, well, show me the baby. Well, you can just get
it. It's like showing your ID.
Yeah.
Well, then it's just powder.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah.
But baby powder is a different thing. You pop it all over the butt and, the diaper and all that stuff. And it's a different animal. All right. There's a Palmer's Hot Chicken just put out a tweet. Hey, could somebody in the media give some respect to Tanner Mordecai? Well, we've done that. Yeah. I don't know what kind of respect he's getting in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we have had him on 3 times.
I think they're jumping all over that bandwagon now. They're halfway through the season and undefeated. I'm sure all the radio stations are now talking about him quite a bit. Yeah. I mean, that's typically how it goes in a market like that.
And it's not a college market.
It's not.
And so
And they don't give a damn about SMU until like the last couple of years, outside of, probably a few guys who did their games and whatnot. But no, I think that, at this point you'll start hearing like regular SMU discussion as though it's always been taking place. But no, there's got to be a lot more chatter about them. I'm really happy for Tanner. He used to do his thing out on this field right here. I think there's, even more to be said, though, for Sonny Dykes and that offense. I mean, they just quarterback after quarterback. He goes and grabs a highly coveted transfer, like it was Shane Buechele before it was Tanner. Yeah. And I'm sure after it's not going to be some high school kid. It's probably going to be some Spencer Rattler or some, thing like that. So it's a nice little niche that Sonny Dykes has created. And a guy like Tanner can come in and really thrive and have great skill guys around him and a pretty good defense as well this year. So I think people are starting to take notice. I do think there is a knock, though, of like system-wise that, like, you're throwing 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. It's like, dude, you couldn't get off the bench at OU, but now you're just, like, lighting it up every week. I think that's some of Tanner, obviously, but I think it's also SMU and that offense. And so that may be – I'm just trying to figure out why people wouldn't be – going on Tanner specifically. I think it might be a system thing, but no, he deserves a lot of credit, and the Ponies are playing well.
Yeah, they really are.
By the way, Palmer's Hot Chicken. Let's get our boy Tanner some of that NIL Skrilla.
Yeah,
some of that chicken money.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
there's a picture with him with the hat on, and you got a couple of young kids draped around his neck, and I think Tanner's finally getting a little of that NIL, which he has earned, no doubt about it. It's 5:20. We're not done. We'll have Paul's top 5 in 30 minutes or so. We're at Panther Stadium. Tonight, one of the deepest talented teams in all of Texas, which means also around the country, DeSoto. They've lost twice. They lost down at Judson, got beat up pretty good in the opening game, then lost in that game to Duncanville, I think 42-21. Their head coach, Claude Mathis, is out. He's under the weather, so he's out this week, and they've got an interim coach who's going to be a part of their game. And Midway coming off what was a comeback win against Waco High last week. And this is, again, a DeSoto roster that's just flat out loaded. We'll have the game 7 o'clock on Sikkim 365 radio. And also the game will be on the video from Midway ISD and YouTube with the audio and video combined. We'll come back with more Sikkim 365 radio. And the text line, we'll read that. The chat room, let's go. 254-339-1122.
Sports bettors, BetUS.com has your NBA, NHL, college football, UFC, PGA, and, of course, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com, BetUS.com for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. So you can bet with a 3-decade leader, BetUS. So join now for that bonus. And if you use crypto, again, 200% bonus on SICK'EM200 or SICK'EM125. If you're not into the crypto game, bet casino, sports, horses, pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, we're celebrating Ram Power Days, bringing the first truck brand to take the top spot overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. With the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, you can get total values up to $6,000 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500. Come see why Ram wins great awards year after year. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, I put this up in the chat room. If you're a college football fan or whoever that watches or listens to us on YouTube and or Sikkim 365 Radio, any question you may have, we'll read them. Paul, Craig, and I will then answer them. And JG, what game on Cincy's remaining schedule is most likely to produce a loss? And Cincinnati, on their schedule, they still have SMU.
That one.
They have at Navy, then coming up at Tulane, Tulsa, USF or South Florida, and then they have SMU at home and then Eastern Carolina. But SMU seems to be about the only one that might
get a
little bit. And who knows? We don't know what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I mean, SMU would be my pick, even if they had some other good teams on there. They don't really. So, yeah, that's the game that I think you circle. I mean, obviously, Cincy might get a little bit of a run from some of those others. But in terms of, like, a team that I've actually been impressed by this year and that can score and that, you know, looks like they could be capable of giving it a run, yeah, SMU is the only one really off that list.
All right, from Alex Armistead, who also on a chat earlier, will not get that one up because it's got words that we don't use, at least not in the chat room. Ohio State will prove the haters wrong. Well, good, because they look like, you know, kind of like, who are they? They got drilled by Oregon.
Well, their defense still isn't good.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if it's going to get good in a year or in the middle of the year. So it's, you know, they might have the players, they might have the Johnnies and Joes. There's just not a great scheme there now. So I would think that their defense will get better in the offseason. That's the thing. Ohio State will probably be better a year from now than they are right now. But, you know, their defense still isn't very good. I'm curious to see what happens when they play another team that is up to their offensive skill level and what happens.
Well, we're going to find out really soon because, I mean, maybe not tomorrow with Indiana, but their final stretch of games are all top 25 teams, basically. So you're looking at Michigan, and you're looking at Michigan State, and you're looking at Purdue even is a top 25 team at the moment. So Ohio State's got a pretty interesting little stretch run where, yeah, other than Nebraska, 4 of their last 6 games are all top 25 teams other than Nebraska and Indiana. They got to play Penn State, Michigan State, et cetera. So, yeah, if the Buckeyes are about to go on a run, they're about to go on a run, all right.
Modern-day caveman, Oklahoma State made the biggest mistake ever, giving Gundy 5 more years. Oklahoma State will regret. Will never be legit or a powerhouse while he's there.
Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, they are undefeated right now, and, if they can go on a run the rest of the way, they're going to be favored in pretty much every game except for Oklahoma. That'd be something. But I mean, I'm not sold on him being like a national championship winning head coach anytime soon. But he's super solid. I mean, you're going to have a bounce back if you've had a year or two down. There's going to be a bounce back, and you're going to be pretty good more often than not.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I think that part of the reason you give Gundy an extension now is, now that you're going into this Big 12 without Oklahoma in it, and I'm not even saying Texas because they haven't been part of this discussion, but but without Oklahoma winning all the titles, it's more wide open. So why wouldn't you want a guy like Mike Gundy at the top where he's going to have a better chance? I mean, it's going to be wide open most every year, especially early on until somebody establishes themselves.
Somebody will emerge, though, as someone who, it could be Brigham Young one year. It could be Baylor one year. It could be Oklahoma State. It could be Iowa State. It could be we don't know. Okay. Or who I forgot about Cincinnati or whatever. But, yeah, it could be one team that wins like 40% of them. I don't know, but Oklahoma State's won about 80%.
It will be funny, though, if they did that whole announcement, or not that it was like some big to-do, but they announced it like right before the Iowa State game. It's like that one's a little bit more unsure than the rest of them, so it was just kind of funny timing, but should be a good one tomorrow.
Gary Lewis, I only saw one half of Texas Tech football this year in a loss to Texas, and of course that was the game they were beaten 70-35. Is Texas Tech's defense talented enough to stay in front of Skylar Thompson?
Skylar Thompson's not really like fully running the ball right now. At least he hasn't been in the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, it all depends on how much he's actually trying to run. I mean, I think K-State's at their best, obviously, when Skylar Thompson can be mobile, but that was not the case in the last couple of weeks. So, I don't know, Paul. What do you think? I mean, they're okay. They're not great, though, by any means.
If Skylar Thompson is 100%, I would say no, but I don't really think that he is. Yeah. So Skylar Thompson at this, maybe, but I think the bigger concern for them would be Deuce Vaughn.
Yes,
right now,
very much so.
There's another one about if you get hired as a coach at Texas, best not unpack your bags, 1 or 2 losses. And you are already on the hot seat. Now, Sark's not on the hot seat, but they're 4-3. They've lost 3 times. The Arkansas loss is the one that obviously was kind of like shocking because of how bad they were beaten. And then the losses at the end of games in the second half to Texas, to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. They're close, but he does earn the right to at least have part of his roster under guys he recruited. Unless they were to just go like 4-8, something like that, it doesn't matter who you are. But they're
guys. He's only working with like a top 15 on average recruiting class. You got to let him get that top 10 because that'll flip the whole world, Because it's always been the talent that's an issue at Texas. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, there might be a couple of nutty fans who see 2 losses and say he's on the hot seat, but he's not anywhere close. I would say though, if they do go and drop like another 2 or 3 games the rest of this way, which is entirely possible, then he still wouldn't be on the hot seat, but there'd be some hot questions about like how long till he gets on that hot seat if they were to go like 500.
There'd be buyer's remorse, but
yeah.
And part of that is just, and it's not fair to put him on the hot seat because, like Texas, if you look at them, they've been so up and down. You don't really know, like, okay, some of Tom Herman's good years, was that just happening that, some of the teams they beat were way down and they got them, again, everything's so cyclical. I don't think it's fair to tell Steve Sarkisian, you can't do it after 1 year because that assumes that the roster was good enough when you got there, when if it was, then Tom Herman would probably still be there. Part of the thing is, they get talent at Texas, but do they get the right talent? Do they develop talent? Do they do that? Well, no, so give him a shot. You can keep jumping in the little, merry-go-round of like, oh, this guy's not good enough, as if Mac Brown made them national champions overnight. It took a little time for him too. I mean, they were probably more of an
wait a
instant
minute.
jump.
It's not like he didn't take over talent either. They had Ricky Williams, a Heisman Trophy winner, like his first year or whatever. But he brought belief. Coaching changes sometimes can do that, but they didn't win right away. That 98 team or 90, whatever it was, they were okay. They did win in Lincoln, where they had won 40-something games in a row. But then he couldn't beat Oklahoma for a while. Mm-hmm. really not many other people were beating them either. So that is such. It just, they do get talent. They, you look at their players. I mean, you look at like Overshown, and you see the kind of player he is. But I also see B.J. Foster as like this All-American. I see him running away from some tackles or kind of getting out of the way.
That Caleb Williams run, that was really odd, the angle that was shot from, because it looks like B.J. Foster's standing right next to him and just doesn't tackle him. But then upon second thought, it looks like maybe there's a guy near his feet. But it's really weird. Like, he runs around the backside, is like right there, and then Caleb Williams makes a move, and B.J. Foster's standing right there, and then Caleb Williams takes off. And so, like, it's like there had to have been somebody on the ground there or something that he was watching out for.
Watch the Kennedy Brooks touchdown run.
It was bizarre.
Watch the Kennedy Brooks touchdown run with B.J. Foster.
I'm telling you, it was crazy. When I first saw that, I was like, why? He didn't even try to tackle him. Like,
he'll come up and knock you out or have a big pick or whatever. He's a freak athlete, but then –
I'm just saying that play was weird when I saw it.
Watch the Kennedy Brooks run. Yeah. It's just like almost like he just gets kind of like just shielded.
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense.
I think the biggest thing, and you need to look at coaches, down the line when you're hiring coaches. Do the players the coaches coach, regardless of the record or the national titles or whatever, are the players the coaches are coaching better when they leave? And for Texas, for the longest time, some of them yes, but most of them no. Texas gets 4- and 5-star high school recruits, and they leave as same 4- and 5-star high school recruits and not NFL prospects. Alabama gets 4- and 5-star recruits, and they leave as NFL prospects.
They may have 4- and 5-star recruits that some of them leave as but there are there has been some of the guys that get cultivated that are 2- and 3-star. You don't hear about them because they're not. They have. It could be as much as a culture. It could be. I remember when Matt Rule, the first year they played Texas and lost. The second year, I think they played Texas and lost. And that was kind of a grinded out game. I remember when he kind of made the comment that he just felt like that his team mentally and physically the next time around, which was the next year, and they just gobbled them up and chewed them up. It wasn't like a 50-0 loss or win, but it was they dominated. I mean, they shoved them all over the place, all over the field. And so it's Steve Sarkisian, like we said after Big 12 Media Days, we kind of like him, Good, wish him the best of luck. And they're a play away in the last 2 losses from being 6-1.
Yeah, but that means they're also not good yet, because the teams that are good, like Oklahoma State's good. You know why? Because they make that play. The teams that are good make that play. The ones that aren't good yet but are going to be good don't yet.
The Oklahoma made numerous plays in that game in the second half, including the Peel fumble recovery. And I mean, and the thing about it is Texas's defense has got I remember when they had the big lead against Texas Tech, and then Columbia just poof, another touchdown Texas, boom. And you wondered about that. They've got to find a way to finish a game. They have not finished in the losses to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and that's their problem. And they get the bye week to try to work on a few things. From Dr. Durgat, Texas is where talent goes to die. JG, Mac Brown only had 1 season with less than 8 wins in his 16 years with Texas. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. He had a great run there. He really did.
He was consistent, and he did it for a decade plus. No question about it. From Cy, Boise's on the short list, but what are the chances this actually happens and they get invited to the Big 12? If it doesn't happen in November, are you speculating it will happen at all? Yes, I think it will happen. I think Boise State in the Big 12 in Chapter 2, whatever you want to call it, I do think is happening.
Yeah. And look, Mike Oresco acknowledged that his teams were leaving. I think that, I don't think the same thing has happened over in Boise's conference, but I do think that there's, acknowledgement that, part of the thing is, if Boise wasn't a candidate for the Big 12, they'd have been on that list for the AAC.
They turned down the AAC, I think, because they realized, one, let's just see how things go. And I don't think that if they did not know, at least there was more than just token interest from the Big 12, then the AAC would have made sense for them.
Yeah.
It would have made sense for them. Let's see here.
Yeah, I mean, the November thing, that's what he has brought up. And, I don't have any insight on that, but I still think that, if there's not something by November, I still think there's something coming Boise's way.
There's a timeline. And here's what has to happen for those, again, that sometimes I don't know if I actually got this deep into it, but when Brigham Young and UCF and Cincinnati and Houston, you have to send things, you can scan, but you have to have the legitimate original paperwork has to be overnighted. And you want it on the AD's desk, you want it on the president's desk, you might want it on the Board of Regents, whoever that, or provost, whoever. And all that paperwork, it doesn't just you overnight it, they sign it, then they overnight it back. It's not that simple. It can be complicated with the timeline. I'm feeling as if the Big 12 would like to have these papers, the Courier, the overnight, FedEx, whatever, in front and on the desks of Boise State, Memphis, SMU, and also as well of USF or South Florida. I think they want to have them on their desks by the third week or so in November, and I think they like to have some things tied up by the end of November. For reasons of, here's a thing, and I don't know the 27-month exits and all that. If you're in a conference and you want to be a part of Chapter 2, which might be in 2024, maybe it's going to be all together in the summer of 2023, and a lot of that remains to be seen and can get complicated. You have to start that clock. The Big 12 is willing to help you pay exit fees, and then maybe you pay them back through television money reduction, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a part of that and you have to do a 27-month clock, 27-month start the clock, that's why November, at the end of this week, at the end of November, is a critical part. If they end up having to push it back with just 2 teams and then add 2 more, I don't know. But that's why November is the month that we've mentioned quite a bit. Alex just said, go Ohio State with a big heart. Alex has been feisty, a little bit feisty. I had to nuke him a couple of times. A little bit over the top, Paul. He's Ohio State Buckeyes fan. No, I am. I'm letting him have his fun. Benny, meanwhile, I had to nuke you, buddy. You went over the top. Just way over the top.
About what?
Well, you threw out the F-bomb just like straight out on the chat room. You can't
just said it like.
Yeah, and it was Oklahoma too. So now,
Okay.
Let's see. What's the worst secondary in the Big Ten? I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, Ohio State's ain't great, but their more problem is their front seven. But I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. I don't know exactly who that is. Let's see here. From Sooner JJ, I thought Texas Tech was wise to get a schedule agreement with Texas. Good for recruiting, exposure, strength of schedule. Think how much fun it will be when you beat them. Yeah, that was one of the things. Craig, I think you brought that up. I believe it was you, maybe Paul, that Texas Tech and UT had talked about a game, non-conference games, once they leave for the SEC.
I don't remember ever talking about that. I know there's I've
never seen that officially. Yeah,
I haven't seen anything about that. I know that Hokut or somebody talked. I mean, this was like 3 months ago. Somebody had mentioned, the possibility of being open to the idea. I know Mack Rhodes, has said in so many words he'd at least listen to the idea of, playing Texas and Oklahoma in non-conferences. And he said, if they had interest, because who knows, they have interest. But yeah, I mean, that's news to me if that's something that's been confirmed, or if it's down along the tracks. And if so, that's cool. That makes sense. And there's only so many spots on a schedule. So I think that'll be a good pull for, the return trip to Lubbock, and obviously be a game of interest, to go travel down to Austin. So yeah, that's smart if they actually got that done.
And as Paul, you mentioned, when Mack Rhodes, we asked that question about, would you be against playing Texas or Oklahoma in non-conference? What was his answer? Remember that? It was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, one maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't draw the line. He didn't say, oh my God, on our terms. It was nothing like that. It was maybe.
Well, I think that was the big mistake. Of course, that was all the vitriol out of we're not going to play A&M in anything, and then you had for particular Steve Smith, the Baylor baseball coach, was like, hey, our sport's kind of hard to schedule, and they're 90 miles away. So I get that everybody's mad at everybody, but. I really needed to do some home and homes with those guys, because otherwise it gets really dicey, and then our RPI will go down. And so, yeah, you just can't. I don't think you can't say never, and then you can't treat it like it's this awful thing. And A&M's played everything, but I think football and men's basketball, right? Or when they played against the women.
Who?
A&M.
Yeah, they played the women. Yeah,
so
they played baseball.
I mean, so they have. Yeah. So yeah, it just doesn't. It's all pointless to say never. It's why.
I don't know. I'm gonna be kind of glad to not see it though for a couple of years. I mean, I'm I think it'd be kind of nice to just have a little bit of a break, and focus on the new teams and not the what if and the who's gone. So I hope Baylor and Texas play again, but if it's not going to happen for a few years, so be it. But I'm sure they'll figure something out and meet up once again. I don't think it would make much sense for Texas to do anything beyond a typical non-con agreement with Texas Tech. It doesn't make sense to make it an every year rivalry. So I'd imagine they'd want to spread it around a little bit. And, if Texas has interest in coming back to Waco one day and they can set something up, great. If not, that's great too. But good for Tech.
From Ann Brown, do you think the AAC made the right decision by bringing Conference USA teams?
I think it's about one of the only things they could do, quite frankly. So, I mean, from that standpoint, they went and grabbed the best teams that they could that are spread out, that are in big cities, and, have some of that pull. And again, there weren't, 100 teams to pick from, really. You had what you had to choose from, and I think you did very well, considering what the limited options and the fact that you were able to get some big markets and and expand in your footprint geographically. I think they did what they could do and did well.
All right, from Derek Wood, what was the reason, whether speculative or factual, for SMU being excluded in the first round? They weren't ready. They weren't. SMU I think had to make a decision. Do we want to jump back into that? Now, the football team is giving them a lot of hope with what they're doing. I think when you look at the four teams, the original four or the 4 or 5, and again, there were 8, 9, 10, 12, but when you look at Brigham Young, they're not going to get in ahead of Brigham Young.
No.
They're not going to get ahead even against Houston, even though you could almost have same comparisons there. They're not going to get ahead of Cincinnati. And then the UCF, Memphis, who was going to go in first or not, or who was going to have to wait to the second round. UCF, they weren't probably going to get ahead of them either, even though UCF is struggling this year. I just think I think SMU, we heard it from Rick Hart Wednesday when he was on the show. And if you haven't heard that interview, if you're an SMU fan, it was great. I just think SMU had to kind of all right, what do we want to do here? And there's nothing wrong with that. And I do think that SMU was not a part of the 4. They were not going to be a part of the 4. And I don't think it's because of anything other than the fact that there were 3 or 4 or 5 teams that were better options for the Big 12 at the time than SMU. Period. That's just factual.
The markets you just mentioned, the one that the Big 12 has the least problem getting is Dallas. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of TCU and Baylor, I mean, they're all right there. Texas Tech has a large fan base there. So Dallas, I wouldn't say is exactly high on the priority list compared to a brand new market in Cincinnati or secure in Houston as best you can. But, it certainly does help secure Dallas a bit further. So I just think the other schools made more sense for what you were trying to accomplish. And then once the dust settled, hey, you can add a little extra flavoring, and SMU's a great one to add. But, those others I think were important to establish first before worrying about the Dallas market and what SMU would potentially bring to the table. But, hey, they're going to be at the table soon enough.
All right. I know we got to go. Let's see. From JG on Ann Brown's question, did the AAC have a choice? Mountain West owns the G5 right now. I don't know who owns what, but
there's been a lot of trash talking between the Mountain West and Conference USA fans and AAC, and I've seen all sorts of back and forth on who's got the best, non-A5 conference, and all that, who's still alive, who won't be here pretty soon. All that kind of jazz. So, it's been interesting to see all that.
All right, this is the last one. And Derek, you did listen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the thoughtful responses. From Pete Crawley, 513. Where does the Big 12 rank football-wise right now between the other 5 power conferences post-realignment?
Number 3.
I think so. I think they're right where they were anyway.
Yeah.
SEC, Big 10, ACC's kind of like where are they?
We're taking the season's results into account here.
He said post-realignment.
Post-realignment, I think they're third, at worst they're fourth. I would not put the Pac-12 above them. That's the one I would say for sure I would not put above them. But
they're
I think
based
on the results this year, I'd put the ACC behind them too.
Yeah.
But I know they've got a lot more bigger teams and whatnot. But yeah, I'd put them right there in the middle.
Cincinnati makes them better as far as if you look at this year, and I know you can't do that, but from
Right there,
Caden, if you place any faith in the Sagarin ratings, and there's a lot of different rankings, the new Big 12 has been a very strong third behind the SEC and the Big 10. There's a long drop to the ACC and then the Pac-12.
Yeah, because I think with the ACC, so much of that lately has been Clemson. It hadn't really been like 6 teams every year that are in the mix. It's mostly just Clemson dominating and being in the championship race every year. So, yeah, I feel comfortable with the Big 12 at 3.
That's actually what the ACC's kind of always been. They've had one really good team, and then they have some good other ones, but
the Florida State Miami drop has hurt them.
Yeah,
from Cy Luton's, Boise just received over a $2 million State Board of Education fund. Received $2 million from the State Board of Education on Thursday for athletic budget. Coincidence?
Who knows? Who knows?
They're going to spend a lot of money on stadium upgrades. They're going to
spend a lot more than $2 million.
Yeah, that's the thing is who knows? Because
that doesn't hurt.
$2 million is as stupid as it sounds, because I sure as hell will never sniff $2 million in any way, shape, or form. But that is sort of a drop in the bucket for college athletics. So yeah, it could be what you think it might be in terms of adding to some pot or something. But $2 million on its own won't do much.
Palmer's Hot Chicken, guys. Next time you're in Dallas, hit me up. Let's drink ourselves a beer. Okay?
Sounds great. There we go.
Palmer's Hot Chicken, who
Cheers
now knows.
to Tanner Mordecai.
The Tanner Mordecai. By the way, Jackson Player, Tulsa defensive lineman, former Midway star, had talked to the team earlier today when they had their team dinner. When we come back.
Can he somehow suit up and play in tonight's game? Because they could really use him.
Yeah, they could use 19 of him.
Yeah, they could.
One of the greatest motors from play in and play out of anybody I've ever covered.
Tulsa fans know.
Absolutely. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. There is no Baylor tailgate this weekend, but there will be next weekend, and it's an 11 o'clock kick, and so that makes it a little bit dicey. But if, in fact, you need product for your tailgate, Waco Custom Marketplace is a great place to go. Smoked pork tenderloin for $4.99 a pound. Now, let's talk about now. They're about to close in 10 minutes, but they're open tomorrow as well. Select choice in prime ribeye steaks, $12.99, $15.99, and $22.99 a pound. Bacon ends at $2.99 a pound. Thin sliced chicken breast, $2.35 a pound. Smoked pork tenderloin, as I mentioned, actually that's $4.50 a pound. Regular piggy sticks and also jalapeno cheese piggy sticks, $2.99 a pound. And the steak box, the $100 steak box right now, you can get it for $95. And of course, they have amazing custom cut bone-in ribeyes, porterhouse, T-bone, and big, thick bacon wrap fillets. Waco Custom Marketplace, Brian Bauer and the family, they're amazing. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, I went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
You might see a couple of the members of the Sikkim 365 radio staff there tomorrow. I believe Jack McKenzie's getting a haircut at Champion.
Well, he needs it.
Yeah. Very slovenly young man. Yes, it's time for Jack to get a haircut. Top 5. All right, and I tried to do one this week on Fun Friday that would maybe you guys could enter like more, because I did the Office one and you guys were both not Office fans. So we did Denzel Washington last week. These are top 5 TV and movie investigators needed to get to the bottom of the Washington football team case.
Okay.
Because there's no written report, so you're going to have someone.
Is Columbo on here?
What? Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. Number 5, Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote. Angela Lansbury. You remember Murder, She Wrote?
Oh, yeah, the old woman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, here's the thing. She can get in there, under the guise of writing a mystery novel about the Washington football team, and then, slowly lull Dan Snyder into sleep and to giving up all the information.
Okay.
I remember the open to that show, but I don't remember ever watching anything past that. I do. Angela Lansbury was great, though.
Happy Days Tom Bosley played the sheriff on that show. Number 4, Monk. If you remember Monk with Tony Shalhoub, which was actually, I think, the best show USA ever produced. But Monk would find some little mundane detail, like the killer had, changed belts with someone, and that's how they would track him down. So what I think here is he notices something in some of those lurid photos that they sent, and then tracks down. There's Dan Snyder in the background. I
could never accept him.
Monk?
Nah.
Oh yeah.
I know it's incredibly popular.
I'm with you. I could never wrap my arms around. I don't know if it was Tony Shalhoub himself, maybe, because I saw him as more of a bit guy than a full blown master detective goof, whatever. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, Matlock. When they get to trial, Matlock's charms
Did he ever trim his eyebrows?
No. Okay. Why would you? Matlock's Southern charm lulls Dan Snyder into a sense of security where he just kind of casually admits something. Then Matlock hones in on that one mundane detail that, and mundane details are big in mystery shows.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And that forces the confession of, yes, it was me the whole time.
All right. Yeah. Matlock. Okay.
Yeah. Number 2, as requested, and could have been number 1 if not for the number 1 that I was going to give you guys. Number 2 would be Columbo.
Yeah, you got to be. I would have probably eliminated the top 5 if he's not a part of this.
Columbo just wore you down with the minutia of questions that he would ask, or some kind of random thing.
How many jackets? How many of those?
Overcoats?
Yeah. How many do you think he had during the lifetime span of that show? Like 400?
Oh, yeah. And of course, there were a bunch of old TV movies he did after that. I remember one Columbo where he was like there's a painter that had killed his wife or something, and
with a paintbrush,
whatever it was,
jabbed her in the ear.
He got him to give him the confession by asking about this. My wife, she doesn't paint by number, not like you, but the paint, she's.
I liked
good.
him. I always liked him because a part of me, even though he would always win, there was a part of me that felt for him. Made me.
I just have one question. I'm dumb. You know what I mean? He would play dumb. You said that you were. Yeah, it was funny. And number 1, they need Daniel Caffey, Tom Cruise's character from A Few Good Men.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You want answers? I want the truth. Yeah. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah. Nicholson scared me in that movie. Of course, he scares me in a lot of movies.
We live in a world that has walls, and those walls need to be guarded with men with guns.
I'm just sitting there thinking about Demi Moore.
Yeah.
No, that was a good movie, man. What? I'm a freaking red-blooded American male. She was like 24 in that movie. I mean, give me a break. I'm not going to get worried about what somebody has to say about that. If they do, then you've got the issues, not me. But yeah, that was a great movie. Great performances, and Tom Cruise was a good little detective in that, hard-working little dude.
Did she do the Marine movie after that?
The G.I. Jane?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It would have been a little bit later than that. Okay. From Biscuits and Gravy, Hardy Boys.
Hardy Boys.
And then
Jeff
also,
and Matt, they were fantastic.
There was another one that was in here that said that Monk was her. This is from Baylor, Bigfoot. And he all caps. I'm not reading it. I'm not reading it. Baylor, Bigfoot. We have rules. Someone tried to fool us earlier this week with all caps, and I said, stop the all caps. He goes, I have one arm. God. All right, Paul, real quickly, we got to go. Willie Mays' his first NFT. Tell us about this with his diploma being
his high school diploma.
He's 90 years old, still around.
He went to Fairfield Technical High School in Fairfield, Alabama, right? And it's a technical high school, so his specialty when you graduated from a technical high school back in those days in 1950, it would say, here's what your profession is. And it was like pressing, cleaning, and chemical cleaning, upholstery. And that would essentially dry cleaning is what his technical profession was. And that's where it said it would go, not being maybe the greatest baseball player who ever breathed.
God, I love watching him play. And I only got a glimpse of him.
Yeah.
I just did not get enough time to watch him during his prime, but I do remember my second oldest brother, Michael, was a huge Mays fan. Who wasn't? My oldest brother, Robert Lake Clemente. For Paul Catalina, for Craig Smoak, thanks to Hayden Bumpus, a part of the show off the top, Armstrong Sims. We'll be here in about an hour with pregame between Midway and DeSoto, 106.7 FM, the Eagle Terrestrial Radio, Sikkim 365 Radio, and also our YouTube channel will have the video and the audio, thanks to Midway ISD and Caleb Overstreet with what he does and his crew. This will back Monday at 3, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Have a great weekend.